Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Turn-Based Memories. We're doing the Xenogears episode today. I played this game a long time ago. This is a PS1 game, a Squaresoft RPG. Came out in '98, and it's famous for having the craziest story of all time. And the co-host, Mel, how you doing, dude?
Oh, hi. I'm doing well. How are you?
Fine, thank you. He has just played this game for the first time. I'm hoping his mind was blown. We're going to find out.
It was satisfactorily blown, but we'll get into the weeds on it.
Okay, cool. And today we have, for the first time ever, a guest, a special guest. He's a mathematician and a Xenogears expert. His name is Cadmoni. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you for the invitation. Very happy to discuss with you about the game, and notably it's very good to have some people discovering the game. So, well, hi, Mel.
Thank you, yeah. Sorry, I just said during your thing. You don't have to stop when I make little sounds. I live in Japan, and in Japan, when you're talking, people say during the whole thing.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so this first section, we're going to not immediately start asking Mel questions, but we're going to ask Cadmoni some questions because he is a Xenogears expert, and this story is one of the hardest stories to follow. So, how about you go first, Mel? Why don't you ask Cadmoni your questions first?
All right. Okay.
I feel like I'm the Sphinx, you know, the Egyptian Sphinx here for only to answer questions.
I mean, I made a big deal about it to Mel when I found out that you were a mathematician. I was like, dude, he's a French mathematician. That's so cool. So your image is pretty high in everyone's mind now.
Okay.
We're building you up, sir.
Yes.
All right. Well, my first question is very simple. What was your first impression of this game like? Because I have just played this game for the first time. I finished it. I wrapped it up less than a month ago, I guess at this point, a couple weeks ago. For the first time, I had never really touched it before. So I've got all these questions. I had to do a little looking up on my own just to kind of get my feet under me in prep for this show. But on your first playthrough, how much of the story did you understand, or did you what was that first experience for you?
Yeah, so this, I mean, for me it was even more mind-blowing than for you, I guess, because it was almost my first RPG.
Oh, wow.
And at the time I was playing with my twin sister, and we were young. I think we were like 13 years old or something.
Oh, wow.
And so we are French, so we were not even speaking English. So I mean, that was more than mind-blowing. It was like mystical. We were like,
oh, wow.
So at the time we only had played Final Fantasy VII before. So I was mainly playing, and she was voice acting. So she was choosing the voices she gave to all the characters, and then I mean, it was very funny to hear her reading the dialogues, etc. But I mean, we did not get anything about the game, and when we finished it, it was like, I mean, we suffered a lot, and we did not understand anything, but we were a bit fascinated still. So at the time as well, there was no translation for the Perfect Works book. Uh-huh. So even the experts, the Western experts, were not very understanding perfectly what's going on. So, well, we were just happy to be mesmerized by this mess, and I think we did not play the game for 10 years before, and
After
so for
that.
10 years I was just thinking about it, but not replaying it because it was too hard and not understanding anything. Yeah, so it was, I think, even more hard for us to understand than you because of the English, notably. Yeah.
That's interesting that you didn't understand hardly anything about it, but were also still that fascinated by it. I imagine a lot of people, even who speak English natively, came away with a similar impression, because most people don't know all of the different religions and philosophies and historical historical influences involved in the game. So
Yeah, and also I think that there is so much text in the game that at some time your mind is just crushed, and you're reading, but you're not reading anymore because you just leave it up. And that's actually, I think, a very good point of the game, is that even though you don't understand precisely what's happening, you just feel that there is something happening, and you just are relieved of the fact that the hero at the end, I mean, the good ending. So, well, I think there is this two level of reading the game. First, you just feel it, and second, you really try to get into it, and then you need to work.
Yep.
That's true. Yes.
Okay, you have another question, Mel?
How about we do yours? Because I think you have the similar ones that I would ask.
Okay, so I have some just direct story questions, not anything
Right.
about your experience, specifically Cadmoni.
Yeah.
What exactly was Krellian's goal? Because was it just to... At first I thought he just wants to resurrect God because he's angry. Like he has the flashback where he says, I'm going to destroy this world, and if the world doesn't come to an end, then I'll destroy it myself. And he wanted to do that because he lost his love, right?
Here, Zoltan, you're mixing what Graf says and what Krelian says. So Graf says, if this world doesn't come
You're
to
right.
an end, then I will
sorry.
destroy it. And then, yes, and Krelian says, if God doesn't exist, then I will create it with my own hands.
That's right. I mixed up what
yeah.
Krellian and Graf said. Sorry. The thing that confused me, I remember now. The thing that confused me about Krellian, I thought he just wanted to resurrect God, and that's why he was, using the Soylent system and using nanomachines and all this stuff. But in the ending, they're like, actually, Krellian loved humans more than anyone. And I'm like, wait, what? He did? I don't understand.
Yeah, so you're right. I think it's one of the things which is the most important of the game, and which is a bit hard to understand. This is the same way why people are not understanding why the Gazelle is not killing Faye, for instance, in Nortune. And the thing is that it's important to understand that for almost all the game, all the villains of the game are not understanding at all what's happening, actually. They're just craving for resurrecting or creating God, but they don't know why. And the turning point is when you revisit Raziel tree in the middle of CD2, with this giant yellow thing.
Yeah.
And then, with this data, Krelian understands that, what's the story with the wave existence, etc.
Yeah,
and so,
wave existence.
Yes, and then his ideology changes in the sense that now he wants to break the prison of the humans by killing them all, so that they come back to the existence, But before, before this time, I think he's just in his relief. No, not relief. He's just like not happy with Sophia being dead, and I think perhaps he's just wanting to bring up the religion which showed for him not to be true because Sophia was killed. So yes, during all this beginning of the game, he doesn't know very precisely why he's doing all that, and then after, yes, one can say that he wanted to help the humans to break free from their condition. Yeah. So that's very important, and that's not easy to understand this turning point. Yeah.
So even he doesn't really know what he's doing at first, huh?
Yes, yes. For instance, at the beginning, if you look at the Gaza Ministry, they want to kill Faye, but because they don't know that they need Faye to resurrect Deus.
Right.
This is so that really shows that the villains at the beginning, they're just like following their own emotions, but not with a precise idea of what they want with Deus. Yeah.
Okay. Did you catch all that, Mel?
I caught parts of it, but only because, so I think that, we can get into the discussion later. I do have one other question, though,
Okay, I have two other questions.
for you, Cadmoni. I'm much more familiar, and I guess it was because I had taken the time back in the day to learn the story. I'm much more familiar with Xeno Saga, and I So I saw a lot of parallels to that game and this game.
Yeah.
And it felt, even though from what I understand, this is supposed to take place way after the events of Xenosaga. That's correct?
Well, I think, I mean, if you consider that the first episode of the saga Xenogears corresponds to Xenosaga, with the contact of Abel, etc., then you could say this, but I think it's not reasonable to try to really think that they are in the same world, because there is some things which are not going to match after. But yeah, you can say it. Yes.
Okay.
But I like to think of it as the actual first episode of Xenogears.
You can. The main difference, I think, is that Xenosaga was supposed to be much bigger, because I'm going to put on some spoilers, sorry, but so in Xenosaga you have this thing that the world is going to be destroyed,
right?
And so it's put up into this loop by Wilhelm, and so Xenogears, I think. Xenosaga, the length in years is much higher in Xenosaga, because in Xenogears, there is some hints on the fact that there could be this big loop in Xenogears, but you're not even getting out of one loop during so it's much bigger. So it's hard to compare. Yes.
Yeah, that's not surprising, because the whole notion, it seems connected. So basically, point of my question was, like, these things seem much more interconnected than I had maybe realized, because I thought, like, when I first started playing, I didn't know where it fit in with Xenosaga, which is a game I play, and I know the whole series pretty well. But I saw all of these sort of connections, because obviously Xenogears was made before Xenosaga, so the same people had the same ideas, and they kind of re-implemented and retooled them for Xenosaga. So Krelian is clearly sort of this morphed into like Wilhelm. It's kind of got a lot of parallels there. Bart is kind of parallel to Rubido. Right. And there's a lot of threads that can kind of connect thematically.
Yeah. I think there is a very good parallel between Graf and Yuriev as well, because he's dwelling between bodies, etc. Yeah.
Graf and who?
Yuriev, the guy who created Rubido and
Dmitry Yuriev.
Yuriev, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the biggest parallel between Xenogears and Saga is probably, in Xenosaga the world is slowly collapsing.
Yeah.
And actually it's also in Xenogears, but it's mentioned only one time. So it's in the first time you meet Emperor Cain. So it's in the cargo in the desert with Satan, when you get caught after the Stalactite Cave, before the Stalactite Cave. Then Cain talks about the time of the gospel, and if you read the postface of the Perfect Works, then they explain that actually the Cain is not immortal. Actually, Cain is dying, and his death is. It seems that it's asserted in these small spaces that the Xenogears world is collapsing as well. Actually, so there is this 10,000 years deadline, and actually this is because we are close. That Faye is like the 999 contact, etc. So there is something like that. And the last important parallel is Lost Jerusalem, of course. So you have this original planet on which there should have been this first appearance of some irrational existence into the world. So yes, there are some deep parallels, but I think it's more thematical, and you cannot. I think it's not reasonable to say that those are the same worlds.
Right.
I think
that doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
They share the same properties, the worlds, but I don't think it's the same. For instance, the last difference is that in Xenogears, it's not completely clear, because there is a contradiction between in the translation of the Perfect Works, but it's the contact between Abel and the existence. In Xenogears, it's not supposed to be on the ship. It's supposed to be on the planet, on the Mictam 004. While in Xenosaga, it's clear that it's done on the ship. So yeah, this is maybe also a little difference. Yeah. So it's a bit specific here, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense given sort of the nature of the themes involved, where everything is the eternal recurrence themes between worlds, but also they don't quite line up. And
Yeah.
but the themes are really similar. Like you have Udu, and you have that the existence, the contact, or what was it called in this? Not the contact.
The wave existence?
The wave existence, yes. That's clearly a parallel there.
You have Jin, who is Citan. Citan? I mean, Citan?
Yes, very clearly a parallel there, yes.
So the funny thing is that in the interviews before the game was released, when they showed the first trailers, there was this Jin. So everybody was like, "Oh my God, this is Titan."
Yes.
And then they said, "No, we don't want fans to overreact about it. It's nothing, etc." But if you look in the debug room of Xenosaga Episode 1, then Jin is called Titan.
Yeah, they have the same last name, don't they?
Uzuki.
Yes, Uzuki as well. Yes. Yes. So I mean, if you look at in the debug room, then the code name for the character, even in Xenosaga, was Titan actually. So,
of course.
Yeah.
Mel, do you know what Cadmoni means when he says the words "perfect works"?
Yeah, there's a book or some sort of a publication that was
It's a book.
made after. It's a book, okay. That was made after basically trying to shore up all of the sort of the closed loopholes, because I assume it was made due to the kind of troubled development, right? It wasn't always intended to be published, right?
I don't
do you
know.
know? Yeah, I don't know if it was always intended or not, but it definitely goes on to the into the history of and the lore of all the previous stuff leading up to Xenogears. So I don't know if they did it just because they. I mean, according to them, they finished the story, even though they didn't make the game exactly the way they wanted.
Right. Okay.
So
yeah, and I think I'm not sure. You should check, but I think it was out very just some weeks after the release of the game. So
gotcha.
Perhaps they wanted to release it to force Square, to say, people are, I mean, just to as a proof of concepts, perhaps, or just to make the more fun and then to force Square to accept the sequel. I don't know.
Well, in Xenosaga, they had that internal compendium, that encyclopedia built into the game.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Okay, my next question for Cadmoni, I have two more.
Yeah.
So is a contact just a person who touched the Zohar? Is that all that is?
Well. Technically, I mean, I'm laughing because I'm really bringing a mathematician a reply here, but technically, no, because Fate did not touch the Zohar.
He didn't touch it.
Abel did, but he's only a descendant of Abel.
Abel did. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
So, sorry.
Okay, good. I didn't think about that. Yeah. So Abel touched it. He became the contact, and then all of his children or whatever became contacts.
So technically, I think you need Deus, because I mean the thing is that you need an interface between. I mean, well, yes, I think you could say that touching Zohar is enough, and in Xenosaga it's this, because when Shion, for instance, touches the Zohar, she just melts into this. Yeah, so these over dimensions. So I think you can say this. Yes, a contact is either somebody who touches Zohar or somebody who is the descendant of somebody who touched Zohar. Yes.
Okay, and in Xenogears, are there any other contacts besides Faye? I remember when during the flashback, before you're going to fight Ramses for the last time, Ramses is telling about how he got thrown out all because of Faye, and they show the scene where Faye's mother walks up to Myung and tells her, I'm having my child. And we checked it out. It's definitely a contact. Like there could be more than one.
At the same time, would it be possible? Well, I don't know.
You don't know. Okay. But in Xenogears, is there more than one contact, or is it only Faye?
No. So there is no. I mean, so yes, when I say I don't know, it's you can stay. I mean, it's like it's not asserted in the game, nor in any documentation around. So
Okay.
yeah, so technically, so this is something I had issues when I was writing my book on the game, because so when you look in the Perfect Works, Miang, they are numbered. You know, it's
The
like
Miangs
my
are numbered?
Yes, it's like Miang number 962 or something.
Mhm.
And for contacts, they are not numbered, and so they only mention the 4 contacts that we made during the whole chronology. So it's not clear that whether there could be other contacts on the way, who did not meet Ellie, for instance, or I don't know. So it's we don't know. We don't know. And two at the same time, I think it's not possible. I mean, well, it's well, who knows, but probably no.
Okay. And my last question, this is the most confusing thing in the entire world to me. Lacan became Graf, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Khan
yes,
is, I'm thinking here, Khan is just Faye's real life father, right?
Yes.
And Wiseman is just Khan wearing a mask?
Yes.
Okay, maybe I got it. Okay, I don't know. I thought did somebody else like spawn off of Graf? I there was a scene that I was watching and I was getting confused. I can't remember it now, but yeah, was somebody else born from Graf?
Yeah, no, this is certainly something. I mean, which is a narrative tool or Deus ex machina here. So yeah. They just say that Graf kills Faye's dad, and then his strength, it's very shonen. His strength is so strong that when Graf is not paying attention to him, then he's just he's able to come back in his wise man form. So, but. For instance, when you go to Zeboim, on the bridge when you kill Id, then Wiseman appears and he takes in his hand in the hand of his gear Id so that the party gets away.
Yeah.
And actually, when you enter the zone in the very beginning, you see that Graf is around. You have a scene where he's in underwater with Myung. So,
that's right. Yeah.
Well, so well. I mean, I think here you have to this is I think a tool for narration. So yeah, this is there is no way another. I mean, there is no way another character could have be out of Graf. I guess probably. I mean, yeah.
Okay. Any more questions from you, Mel, about the story of Xenogears?
No. I mean, it's just gonna take some more absorbing of the plot and some stuff. Like, I think my only comment on that regard, like where am I at with the story, is I guess like you said, Kedmon, you have to do a lot of this legwork yourself.
Yeah.
You have to do, and I think compared to Xenosaga, it kind of gives it to you either in that compendium or in the cutscenes or whatever a little more. There's definitely some other materials you can read for those games too, but I feel like I walked away from those games with a more of a footing compared to Xenogears. But
I think it's much more easy than Xenosaga, because when I wrote my book, I also had to work out Xenosaga's timeline. It was much harder actually, because the official material given for Xenosaga, such as Xenosaga Perfect Guide or things like this. There is lots of things about the timeline, but there is also lots of things about Enneagram things. I mean, psychology stuff, etc. Lots of character development. But actually, if you just read the Perfect Works of Xenogears, I mean, it is much more like you have timelines with dates, etc. I think it's in some sense there is less info than Xenosaga. I mean, so just reading the Perfect Works, and perhaps somebody who just makes some resume after, some summary of it after, then I mean it should be very easy, much more easy than Xenosaga actually. I think. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much for answering our questions, Cadmoni.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So first, overall, Do you like the story? And what is your feeling after finishing the game?
I do like the story. As we kind of said in the earlier section, I found it harder to follow than Xenosaga. I have not read the Perfect Works book, which it sounds like I should. So I think overall with the story, I did like it because obviously it's kind of I like Xenosaga a lot, and obviously I know that this is related. It's obvious, and I knew it before going in, so I was kind of prepared to like it. So that helps,
Cool,
if you're kind of in the mood. And there are a ton of parallels again, like we said earlier in the questions section with Cadmoni. But I walked away from this feeling way less certain about what the hell was going on. And I think part of it is on me because I ended up taking breaks between the recording just because of the time I have on hand is different from what I had when I played Xenosaga, where I just burned through that game and I read all the in-game dialogue and I read the whole friggin' compendium probably more than once.
Wow.
So I walked away from that stuff a lot more certain about, and even then, like I learned a lot after the fact. Like in recent years, out of curiosity, like I filled in a lot of holes in what I just hadn't figured out for that game. So for this game, forget it. Like there's a ton of confusion in terms of, a lot of people appear to be other people.
Right.
There's a lot of literally multiple personalities, but multiple people appearing as other people in this game. It happens left and right, and so that can get kind of confusing. If you took a couple days between play sessions or something. But my biggest problem, and it's an unfortunate one, is since I was playing this game on an emulator.
Oh no.
The game didn't let me finish it.
You didn't get to the ending, huh?
I watched the whole ending.
Yeah.
I got probably less than a quarter of the way
through what?
To the ending, or less than that. Like there was less than that left over. There's a boss fight that glitches out apparently even on original hardware.
What game? What boss was it? Do you remember?
Deus.
The Deus boss fight. Okay.
The Deus boss fight.
The one where he hurts himself and you can't really. The one where if you attack him,
that boss. Yes, that boss.
He'll counterattack. He'll counter by healing himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
He has an attack that is it's a big fancy attack, so it's doing a whole bunch of graphics at you. And I guess it wasn't coded perfectly. I looked it up online. I was like, oh shit, is there something wrong with this thing? What's going on? I looked it up online. Apparently there's some chance that it'll freeze. Like the game itself doesn't actually lock, but nothing happens. Like you're stuck. All the characters are just kind of idling and nothing's happening. And apparently there's some small chance that this can happen at any given time the attack comes out, even on original hardware.
Yeah.
And some people are like, oh, set the read speed on the disc to whatever. Apparently that's the thing you can do. That's not an option on the emulator. 100% of it, I tried everything I could think of. I tried.
It happened every time?
All the emulator, yeah. I couldn't get past this boss fight. And I tried everything I could think of. So, man. I was already well enough into the notorious Disc 2 by that point, where I was like, I bet if I watch the rest of this, I'm not losing.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, if you watch the whole thing, it's fine. You didn't have to go.
Initially, I was going to tell you and be like, dude, this is bad news. Whatever. And then I kept watching someone with no commentary play through the rest. I'm like, this is the same experience.
That's funny.
because there's a big dungeon at the end, and there's a couple little like end game extra bits, but so much of it is just exposition.
Yeah, totally.
It's like maybe 80% the same experience.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's unfortunate. That impacted my ability to absorb some of the plot a little bit, but not much.
Well, it mostly impacted your ability to know like what the end game gear setups are going to be like, right?
True. Yeah. So the very end game stuff, which to me, from where I was headed, I had gotten all the gears were all upgraded at that point. Like I got all the cool versions of the gears, or I think at least most of them.
Yeah. So you went to the 2 Anima dungeons, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it was kind of just throwing you randomly into boss fights, which at least the ones that I was involved in were like cakewalks. Like, now you have the fucking ultimate omni bust ass gear, and it's gonna fucking dick slam this guy in 5 moves. Like, that's kind of where it felt like it was headed. And since there's 1 or 2 areas that you can move around in freely and like buy stuff.
The end game, yeah.
The end game.
Yeah.
So how flexible can it get is kind of where I had seen the world. You can go back to the open world though, right?
Yeah, but like, right.
At
but
the very
if
end,
you go to like, say, Dazil, the desert town, you can't enter it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think you can.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so you liked the story, but you didn't understand a lot of it.
It was really, and I'll have to look up this Perfect Works thing, because I felt bad when Cadmoney was like, actually, it's simpler than Xenosaga.
Right.
Like,
if you've read, if you're gonna research it, it's simpler. But if you just play the game,
right,
and you haven't read, Perfect Works or whatever, I actually have the original Japanese copy because I can't remember if I told you, but this was my favorite game of all time, and the game that I decided, okay, I'm all about RPGs.
Right,
and the reason was the story. And it's so weird now that my tastes have actually changed. I was getting tired of playing it, to be honest. Not near the end, but like in the middle, really.
Right.
Because I wanted to just skip the story scenes, even though I know I can't, because I'm supposed to read it so we can talk about it. And so I did read it. But I kept thinking, like, yeah, I really just want to have some gameplay now.
Yeah, this game, and you played how? How did you physically play the game?
Oh, the downloadable version on PS3. So basically,
basically a vanilla copy of the right. I had an emulator that I could speed up the dialogue scroll.
Oh yeah, there is a ROM like that.
It's slow.
It's pretty slow, right? I mean, well, it's about
really
the same speed
slow
that I read, to be honest.
I read very slowly as well, but not that slow.
Damn, I just outed myself.
No, I read quite slowly, and I went to school for English. So, I always found that weird about myself too. But no, it's the game's kind of mechanically slow. The menus are slow. It's a slow game.
It is a slow game, definitely. Yeah. Okay.
Let's do number 2.
Yeah, number 2. Here we go. I'm gonna skip one question. When did you realize Faye was id? I, not a very smart person, didn't realize it until they told me.
Yeah. And in hindsight, I should have known as soon as they were like, he has the same attacks. I'm like, oh, because he's the same guy, huh?
Right. Yeah, there's so many foreshadowing moments about it. And it's like, when I played now, I was like, how did I not see that this is that? Like, how did, like, the most, I think, at the latest, this is me, this is not a nice thing to say, but in my opinion, that an averagely smart person should, at the latest, be able to have known it that Faye was id when there's that one scene where I think id is like out and about and they land on top of the Yggdrasil, which is in the water, when it's in the water, and like id versus Ellie kind of battle happens. And then I think that was what it was. And after you go back inside the Yggdrasil, this is after Faye was unconscious for a while because he got attacked underwater. They see him, he's at the freaking hangar, and like there's steam coming off of his well-tall gear. And they're like, oh, you woke up? When'd you wake up? And I was like, oh, yeah, I woke up a little while ago. Just wanted to, get some air.
Yeah.
And there's steam coming off the back of the freaking thrusters. And I'm like, how did I not know it from right that moment? Oh.
Yeah. It should have been. I didn't get it either until they had him tied up and basically like stare into the camera and like,
okay.
You're id.
Okay. So same thing. And was your mind blown?
I kind of really was. That's probably a high point in the story for me because that's where they were really starting to delve into who Faye was. That entire, up until then, for me, Faye was a very bland protagonist.
I suppose you're right, yeah.
Who I didn't have a lot to sort of latch on to other than... clearly had a mysterious background, so I was expecting something to come about. He was clearly possessed by something. I should have known it was id. But up until you get the answer, or until those circumstances start happening in the plot, the Faye character himself is really bland. He's just kind of a nice guy, protagonist person, and... whatever, but
I think
up until id starts showing up and then explaining, Faye is actually this repressed, safety mechanism. Of like all these, and I'm like, this is getting interesting. Okay, all right. So that's a highlight of the whole plot for me.
I think that's probably my favorite part of the whole story too. That and the entire Solaris sequence. Is like my favorite thing. I also really like the whole Sophia thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, or any other standout moments for you in the story?
Just because I like when this happens in I guess fiction. All of the scenes where you have all those like mysterious people on the screens who you don't really know who they are yet. Talking about the plot and you don't know what it means yet. I thought that was really cool. Even though I didn't grab a lot off of it for most of the part until later on.
Yeah.
Those kinds of scenes I always find really like fun and satisfying to watch because you just try to pull out as much as you can, but you don't have any answers yet.
Man, it's like this game was made for you.
Cool. I really do enjoy a lot of everything about this
the story,
game, and we'll get into it. But even more than just the story, like it's good.
Nice. I thought the slow text might actually put you off a bit, but okay. Are Faye and Ellie the greatest romance you have ever seen in a game? I don't think I've ever seen a better love story. Really, in my case, I haven't seen a better love story in anything probably, but definitely in games. There's no I haven't played some other really famous ones like Lunar is just entirely a love story. I hear.
Okay.
I haven't played Lunar, and I believe the Trails in the what is it? The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky and Trails of Cold Steel probably has some love stories in it too. I haven't played those two yet.
Good.
Yeah, but man, Faye and Ellie destined from generation after generation, and
that is pretty good too.
Yeah, one of my favorite scenes is when they go back, they flash back to the Bible days. In the Bible, Cain kills his brother Abel, right? Isn't that how it goes in the
Correct.
Bible? Yeah, and so in this story, the ancestor of the ancestor of the ancestor of Faye is freaking Abel, and he's with freaking Elohim, and they show the scene where Cain kills Abel, and Elohim is right there, and she cries about oh my God, this was destined since the Bible days.
Since Bible times. Yeah, it's true. They are I don't know, I guess you could say the word justified or better than some probably most RPG romances are, where it's just like you are a girl and I am a boy, and therefore
we like each other. Yeah.
We like each other. We're in circumstances together, therefore we are going to fall in love. But and also Ellie is not the typical female romance character. She's a soldier, And
Yeah.
she's like a really good one, and she's got her own conflicted sort of past, and she's a more compelling character. She's got all of these little nuances and depths to her. So as you know, Faye obviously being the protagonist, there's some expectation that he's the person you're supposed to be in the shoes of, and then Ellie as your quote-unquote love interest. It's a more interesting like romance to be to sort of go after. I definitely think so. I can agree that it's because there's more depth to it compared to probably most of the ones I can draw off the top of my head, where it's either we were childhood friends, right?
Yeah.
We were neighbors. You fell literally out of the sky, or some dumb shit, and then just like romance happens because this is definitely more justified and interesting.
Admittedly, just romance happens just because is realistic, though.
It is true, and that's why it's not totally invalid to have those, and that's why they work at all. Otherwise, it wouldn't work ever.
Yeah.
But you want more like if you're gonna set up a fiction,
Right.
you should try to give it like some meat on the bones. Like you want some people to be not just randomly fall in love. You want them to be like star-crossed lovers. You want them to, like this game has it, where they're fated to fall in love. Like that's cool.
Yeah, and they really took their time with it. Like there are lots of times when it would have been okay for me to be like, oh, they're in love now. But then Ellie's like, wait, I want to be away from you for a while to see how I really feel and stuff like that. And they go back and forth. And, they have that argument where, like, at the very end, before you're going to go off to fight Deus, Faye is like, you can't come with this last mission. You can't come because now it's going to be way too dangerous. And she's like, but I've been in danger this whole time. What are you talking about? And just so that she doesn't come because he's worried about her, he like intentionally yells at her, no, there's no way, you'll just hold us back. Stay here. And then she runs off crying, and then he goes to her room and they have makeup sex, and that was like the most beautiful thing ever. I thought. Okay. Which psychological story arc did you like more? The one that occurs in Faye's head. Did you watch that whole thing where Faye is inside his head dealing with the two other personalities?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That one, or the one that happens inside Cloud's head in FF7?
Definitely Faye. I mean, I like Final Fantasy VII as a time and place game. Where it fits in the sort of the real world timeline of role-playing games and what they did and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's historically very important for that reason, in my opinion, more than for what it actually does on paper. I think this game is like, it leaps over that game in a lot of different ways. And I think one of those key ways is, the protagonist has just like an ocean's more depth than Cloud, which is not very hard to do. I mean, Cloud has a mysterious background, but once you kind of uncover that mystery, in my opinion, it's not as interesting. It's still quite shallow. He is still just kind of a soldier guy, and he just wanted to do whatever. But in this case, this whole repressed memory thing, and then the sort of psychological split that he undergoes, and the sort of characterizations of each of those people that he becomes, they have real plot significance. It's, you're playing through those things. They're not just told to you, as odd as that sounds for a game like this where a lot of shit is just told to you. I think it all makes for a better... if you're going to parallel those two things, I think this is the stronger example.
I like how he kind of boiled down. I have no idea if it really would work like this. If this is actually a good simile or metaphor for what split personalities really do to each other. But I like how he kind of boiled it down to just like exactly what happened between your personalities that made him like this. And the thing was that he, the obvious one, or the easy to understand part, is how, he sectioned off a part of his personality to be the part that endures all the bad things, like when freaking his mother became Myung, and Myung was doing experiments on him. Oh my god, I almost cried watching that this time around. It's like it has more effect on you when they show bad things happening to kids when you have kids.
Yeah, that's true.
And so that's like kind of the obvious part. Yeah, that makes like perfect sense. I could have thought of that maybe. But then the way he resolves it is by having the coward show Id the memory that he always watches, and the thing was that, and they watch it like a freaking film, and it counts down 10, 9, 8 and everything, and then they show it, and look, at the end she turned back into Mother and she smiled at us because she loved us, and freaking Id's like, what? No, I won't accept it, and then he accepts it, and then you become one. I thought that was the greatest thing of all time.
I think it's really
masterful.
I think it's really powerful in that moment, and it kind of makes you yearn for like a remake where they could kind of put this to voice acting effect.
Yeah.
Where the characters could kind of act these things out, because it's a really cool idea, and I think and they even call it dissociative identity disorder. Like, they call it the medical term.
Oh, they do. They call it that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, which is kind of impressive in itself. And I think they do because, to me anyway, it shows that they thought a lot about this part of the plot. Like, this was not only just like a thing happening to the protagonist, but it's also an element of the story that they clearly worked on a bunch.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that these characters kind of coming to terms with things sometimes violently, I think this, like we were saying, is the part that I grabbed onto the most of, and is therefore probably my favorite part of the whole thing. Because it's the part that I could digest. All of these sort of esoteric Gnosticism and the religious sort of overtones, which do and don't diverge from real world themes in different ways, I had a harder time with.
Right.
All of the side characters, as cool as they are in the moment, I had a hard time caring too much about. Like, Bart's really fun.
Right. But do you care anything about Rico or Billy?
Rico and Billy, I don't care anything about.
Yeah.
Like, they're slightly tragic, both of them, in like one or two ways, which is cool. But compared to Faye and Ellie, they're not even on the center stage long enough to really stand up. And then you have the other character, like Choo Choo, that's not a character. And
yeah, I guess so, yeah. She has a scene, though.
She does. It's true.
Okay. Gonna skip a question. Did you trust Citan after he betrayed you? That was
no.
Me neither.
I didn't. I really thought that guy was up to no good, or I was prepared for that to be true. I don't know if I necessarily was like guaranteed it's true, but early on they show you a cutscene of him talking to who you don't even know is Emperor Cain.
Right.
Clearly an evil-looking dude, clearly designed to look ominous. Other people are calling him a different name, which he doesn't tell you. You know. So they call him Huga.
Oh, that's right, Huga. Yeah, that's right.
And he never calls himself that or introduces himself as that. So he's clearly got another life going on. He lived in Solaris, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't tell you that.
Yeah. It turns out he was like a guardian angel.
Yeah. He was like not
appointed
only
by
there, he was like
Emperor Cain himself.
Yeah. He's like incredibly important. He had like top level security access. He's like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'm sure they forgot to change some codes and
she's still in the system. Which is a funny scene. But
a thing that they did that kind of
I didn't trust him.
You didn't trust him. Yeah, a thing that they did that kind of helps you not trust him after that happens is from that point on, he uses the sword, so he's like a kind of a whole new character in battle at least. And when he has his sprite with the sword, he's making his eyebrows are his eyebrows are turned downward, so like he looks kind of angry all the time now. Like so I'm just referring to his sprite during battle and stuff. He looks like a different person now, and it's never mind. You know, your sword is freaking cool, but
he looks evil. He looks like and then they talk about how he never wanted to go back to this sword, and it was like a last resort thing, and he's clearly far and away the most effective party member, I think.
I think so too, yeah.
He's like a no-brainer choice, like 99% of the time. So yeah, he's meant to give you this kind of like, I don't know, vibe about this guy. And I guess in hindsight, that's like a red herring. Like, you're supposed to not trust him. That's what they wanted you to think. But that is where I thought. So it worked.
Cool. So story-wise, who are your favorite characters? I guess you talked about Faye and Ellie already.
Yeah, Faye, Ellie, and I keep calling him Satan, but I guess Satan.
I've always called him Satan.
Satan, okay. I guess I'm relying on Satan like a Satan is like a biological name for a whale, I think. But
okay. Dude, you want to hear something crazy? So there was a podcast that said that without a doubt, they said without a doubt, you know, if you don't see it, you just didn't see it. It's there, yo. Satan, they called him Satan. And I think they intentionally referred to him as Satan on that podcast because it sounds like Satan. And they said Satan is supposed to be like Satan. And then they went through all these things, and I can't remember any of them now because I don't know enough about the history of Satan and Christianity. But an interesting note that might further back that theory up is that in Japanese, his name is Shitan, which is Shitan. It's 3 letters in Japanese. And in Japanese, Satan is called Satan, which is also just Satan, 3 letters. And all they did is take the Sa, and it just happens Shi is the very next letter after Sa. So maybe they totally did do it on purpose. Like, he's Satan, but we'll just shift it to the next letter, Shaitan. So that's interesting.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. Did you like Maria or Emeralda? I like Emeralda, even though she's not a huge part of the story.
She wasn't in there enough for me to grab onto.
Okay. Story-wise,
I think Bart is fun.
Bart is fun, yeah. His whip is cool too.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was about to ask you the same question again. Here we go. Did you notice at the very end of the credits, episode 5, it said?
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
I did not see that. I watched the credits, so I didn't see it.
At the very end, it says episode 5. And I remember the first time seeing it, like, what? What do you mean, episode 5?
That is crazy. Like, I can't imagine what that must have, like, done to people playing the game at the time. Like,
right?
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's probably not as impactful if you've already played Xenosaga, right?
Or that it's not right. You know what kind of became of
this game,
this entire development. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you notice any similarities to Xenosaga, or did any important ones jump out at you?
Yeah, a ton. So we went over them a little bit with Cadmoni about some of the themes that were there, the characters that are paralleled, even though they're not necessarily supposed to be the same. Like Satan Uzuki is clearly related to Jin.
It's like the same person, same character design and everything.
In my head, it was the same voice.
It's exactly the same person to me. In fact, I didn't remember that his name was Jin in Xenosaga until you guys were talking about it. I thought his name was Satan, actually.
He even has a very similar way of talking where Satan won't use contractions very often.
Yeah.
And it's just very stilted, formal.
Right. Because he's supposed to sound smart.
Yeah, he's smart, but also, like, preternaturally calm. He's never He's never agitated. He's never quick. It's always this sort of slow, calm, doctorly sort of tone.
Yeah.
But also Bart is clearly was taken
Billy.
as inspiration
Junior,
for Junior for
Yeah.
Rubido.
Yeah.
Clearly the same person.
Yeah, I think you're right.
They even call him Young Master, and the other one's Little Master.
That's right.
And he has like the same sort of retainers who like chase after him, like, "Oh, don't blow up the planet, Little Master!" Like,
Yeah, exactly. You're right. I didn't
Flies
think about
on
it, but
a
you're right.
ship. The Durandal is the same fucking thing as
The Yggdrasil.
the Yggdrasil. It's the same fucking thing.
Mhm.
And he has 2 whips, and the other guy has 2 guns.
So more importantly, though, isn't there like, for example, I think in episode 3, which I've only played once, doesn't freaking the Well-Tall just like appear? Isn't Well-Tall?
It does. It's if it's not the Well-Tall, it's some other gear, but it's probably that as like a bonus extra super duper hard boss.
Oh, I thought it was
It's in
part of
there.
the story.
Then I'm maybe thinking of a different one. But there's definitely a gear from Xenogears that's like a side boss that's very difficult.
Huh. I wonder if it was
Uh,
Xenogears itself. Could have been.
It may have been, but I remember it looking more red, so it may have been.
Oh, what is that? Alpha Well-Tall or something? No, that's Grof's gear. What is the
one
name
the
of?
Xenogears.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it now. A True Well-Tall or something? I can't remember the name of its red
It
version
goes
of
through
Well-Tall.
like 4 different versions.
Yeah.
Kind of silly.
Yeah.
But as far as other parallels, like style-wise, the thing this game and I guess all of the Xeno Saga games do really well, and it's just a credit to the designers, is that ambient, like I'm on a ship and there's like banter happening, like an action scene where they're all just sort of saying shit that doesn't make sense to you because it's like high technology.
Oh, that thing,
Like,
yeah.
The thing's coming in 5 meters, and like they have all of this techno garble that they throw at you.
The
to
intro,
sound
right?
Really
like the
cool.
intro, right? Yeah, it sounds
like
cool.
the intro,
Dude,
and
all that stuff has
is
meaning.
really cool.
All that stuff had meaning in the intro.
It had meaning, but it's mostly flavor, at least in Xenosaga, where they're talking about like whatever action scene is happening at the moment,
Yeah.
and they just kind of throw this info at you really quickly. And probably in Xenogears, a lot more of it has meaning, but I know in Xenosaga, a lot of it's just flavor to give you this like feeling of I'm in this real cockpit or this like the deck of this giant warship, and there's all this support crew talking to the captain about whatever the fuck's happening. And they do the same thing the same way, and it works every time. I love it. It's great.
It is great. Yeah. Yeah, they capture that Star Trek vibration really well.
Yeah, that's true.
Did the overall... Yeah, I don't need to ask that one. Is there anything else you would like to say about Xenogears story or ask me about Xenogears story?
So, yeah, I think the obvious points about the story, I wish they had more time to finish it.
Oh, yeah.
I really wish that the second disc didn't get cut as hard as it did.
Yeah.
I knew going in that was the case. I didn't know how true it was, though. I thought, oh, they scaled it down. It's more story than whatever. I didn't know how blatant that the game basically was cut at that point. Like,
Yeah.
you're just the characters sitting in a chair as walls of text show you in screenshot form the video game you could have played.
You could have played. Yeah. Like they
Like,
show
that's
the...
a dungeon I would have been in.
Exactly.
This is a boss fight I would have fought, and this is like it's right there. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Like at some point, I sat back and was like, "Wow, this is really rough."
Yeah. So when
I
I
was not prepared.
when I first played it way back in the day, when I played this game, I was 18 years old. That's roughly right when it came out. I played it roughly at launch, and I actually I didn't know anything about that, that it was cut or something. And I still should just thought, oh, this 2 is like this because it would be too long if they didn't do it this way. That's seriously what I thought, and I never had any bad feelings about it once in my life. Until much later, I mean, yeah.
I mean, just sitting there, because the same thing happened to Xenosaga, but they did it in a lot less of a ham-fisted way, where they were just referencing whole big things that the main characters had done that you didn't see. And, a lot of that was cut or put into like a mobile game, I think, some parts of it. But
they were going to do like 5 or 6 episodes, and they stopped at episode. They put everything that they could to finish it just into episode 3, right?
Yeah, there was a whole side story with Voyager and the Lemageton and all these things that they talk about, and they discuss fighting this guy and going to this place and doing this stuff, and then you never see any of it.
Yeah. I believe Saibzen and a girl who looked a lot like Maria was also in episode 3, wasn't it?
Yeah. She was. The exact same character with the exact same gear.
Yeah.
Was in that game.
Like, it might as well be the same story, just episode 1, 2, 3. Only 2 episodes away from Xenogears.
I know, right? And when I saw that Subzen in this game, I was like, oh, this was in Xenosaga 3.
Xenosaga, yeah.
Oh, that's where this came from. So there was a lot of that actually going on, because in episode 1, you can buy a lot of other gears that you don't need to buy. It's like a whole other... In combat, you can buy a bunch of gears, which on my first playthroughs of those games I never did, because you don't have to.
Yeah,
it's like super duper optional. But in later playthroughs, I did buy them, and thinking back on it now, I'm pretty sure almost all of them are pulled from Xenogears.
Are you serious? I want to do that now. I didn't know that.
Some of the later ones, at least, are definitely like pulled out of that, because they're very stylistically different from the gears or the mechs or whatever one of the eggs
the
or whatever
AGWSs, yeah.
In Xenosaga, which have a certain look to them.
Yeah.
And these things were big, chunky looking. They just looked weird and different, and I didn't know why at the time. I'm pretty sure, I'd have to relook at it, but I'm pretty sure it's because they were all designs from Xenogears.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, as far as what I would ask you, I guess the same question I asked Cadmon is, like, how much, like, what was your first experience with this game? Like, where you said that this was, like, a reason why you got into RPGs, which is a crazy thing.
Yeah, considering what I like now, yeah.
Right. So, was it, what did it for you the most?
It was, in fact, the story and, all the mind-blow moments that they have.
Right.
And I dare say it's possible I understood more than Cadmonia after my first playthrough, just because I speak English natively, perhaps.
I'm sure you did.
But, I remember playing it, and I remember, like, the moment that I thought, like, dude, this is getting, like I'm getting into this, was just like at a pretty comparatively mild portion of the game, just where you're in Bart's pirate lair, and in the middle of the night, those 5 Solaris pirate dudes, Solaris soldier dudes, and I don't think Ellie was there, but yeah, those 5 people that work directly under Ellie, they all break in there to steal some gears or something. I can't remember what it was now, what they were doing. But you remember that? There's those 5 guys that always work under Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they're like her squad.
Her squad, yeah. The Rank and Stratsky and those 5 guys. And I don't know, their facial portraits made a huge difference. Difference to me. Like, I don't know. I really like the face portrait design in this game, the character design in this game. And so giving all those guys those nice portraits, and then they break in when you're asleep, and then Faye's like, he's like walking around like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do anything. I have nothing to do with this. They can fight it themselves. And then he has to do it because, he sees like a kid's about to get destroyed by a gear. And yeah, I don't know. And then at the very end of that scene, the gear called Spariel comes out, and it's like a large drill. It's like a drill. It's a gear that is a drill. And I just remember seeing it. I was like, dude, what? That's amazing. And I don't know. That was like the moment that I started like really getting into it. And then as time goes on, there's more and more mind blow things. And of course, for me, the biggest one was the id thing. And when they showed him reunite his 3 personalities, that was the greatest thing of all time to me. And I also really liked the Ellie and Faye romance. And the gears all looked pretty cool to me as well. So, and the boss battles are really impactful as well, which we'll get into. Because they're not quite the same as human battles, and they kind of have a puzzle aspect to them, and they're hard enough for the first time, especially. So yeah, I guess that's what did it to me. I didn't know anything about any other religions or real life. I didn't know that all that stuff with id was like influenced by Freud. Philosophers, Freud and stuff. Yeah, I didn't know any of that. I just liked the characters and the story.
Yeah, I don't think that any of that is necessary. I think they play with a lot of those concepts enough to the point where they're kind of become their own thing. Like, they didn't just verbatim pull from the Bible. Like, they played with it. They took it and they used those themes, and they did a lot of their own things with it, from what I can gather at this point. And I know that's what they did in Xenosaga. My one opinion, I don't know, I feel like this could go either way. What did you think about Hammer?
Oh, I thought that was a great story moment when he tries to, he does kill Ellie's mom, and then he comes back and tries to kill you. And I thought that was amazing. And in the beginning, and in the beginning, he is just like what he says he is. He says, I know that everybody sees me as just some annoying handyman. And like throughout the whole Kislev section, when you meet him, it's like, he's just some annoying handyman. Exactly. He said it perfectly.
It's true. I mean, that I think is one of the highlights of the B plot, or the just like the ancillary writing in this game is also really strong, because these fucking throwaway characters, like the dude who sells you items, has a really cool part in the story. And he is annoying, and he is kind of fucking obnoxious, and he's calling you bro all the time.
Yeah. And he's like, I thought we agreed you're not going to call me that. And he's like, what are you saying, bro?
He does it for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And then he has a tragic little backstory, ending, and it's really sad. Like, it's actually sad.
Yeah. Yeah, I really was impressed by that as well. Even back then, but even more so this time, I think. How they worked him into, having a little plot with Krellian. Like, it made great sense, and how the reason he accepted is that he has this inferiority complex, how Rico and Faye are so powerful, and he doesn't have their power, and so that's why he accepted Krellian's offer. I was into it.
And he's clearly very torn, like he doesn't want to do it. And he's like crying.
Right, he's shivering and stuff. Yeah. Not shivering, he's trembling, with the gun and stuff. Yeah. Okay, shall we move on to the graphics and sound now?
Yes.
Okay. How do these PS1 era graphics hold up to you? I'll say that I think they actually are among the better 3D graphics. True.
I mean, they're not early PS1 graphics, that's for sure. They look like... I mean, they're pretty late in the PS1's life cycle, right?
98, so is that late?
98. I guess they got another year and a half.
Okay, so that's kind of late, yeah.
It's pretty late. It's maybe mid to late. But it's definitely not like, first out the line launch era PS1. Like, it's a little bit seasoned and it shows. But for me personally, I think it looks amazing. I think these graphics straight up look great today. I probably have a pretty big soft spot for this look.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of when I played games the most, was around here and slightly earlier. But I think they do a ton with what they had. They really do an incredible amount, and it always impresses me whenever I see a PS1 game, especially a PS1 game, because I feel like with N64 games, they had more in their toolkit. Like the N64 was a pretty powerful device, and there was no load time.
Right.
So that was another thing that was off the table for the developer to worry about. The only problem they had was size to fit everything on the cart and cost, which are big hurdles, but if they can figure those out, the finished product is usually like guaranteed to look incredible for the time. With the PS1, it was way harder to get games to kind of look like legible and clear and to like make things look impressive and big on a disc, like with load times involved and everything. And whenever it was done, usually by the really big, like Square Enix, like Vagrant Story is a good example in this game, where those games just look, and really impressive.
They do,
despite the medium that they're on. And I think that, maybe it can be a little difficult to kind of piece together, like, what does that gear really look like? Like, it's a little fuzzy. It's a little wobbly. Like, it kind of can't quite get a hold on what it really... It's a little janky, blocky looking, but since they went with the 2D sprites for everything else, that looks really sharp against the 3D backgrounds, which are pretty simple to render. Those characters, if they were 3D, would have looked horrible.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And that's why they didn't do it. But I think the decision to do, and those sprites look, they're really good sprite work. And the combat, all the animations.
Oh yeah, those are great.
They're not, like, they do this weird thing, like they do this sort of transform, like pivot stuff with the sprites that I hadn't seen done in other games.
Do you mean when camera is moved? Is that what you mean?
No, I mean like when the actual sprite like kind of rotates. Like you can tell it's not the sprite itself animating. They're just kind of taking the axis of the image and rotating it when like a character does a backflip, for example, or they get kicked, they get punched real hard or something. They do these interesting things with the sprites where they kind of just like they did some math to like transform, like turn them sideways during these animations.
I see what you're saying.
On top of them animating like normally, and it works really well. And to fit in with the dynamic camera that you're talking about, it comes together really well. This sort of 2D and 3D merging that they did was very impressive. And then just on the 3D itself, the environments, really cool looking shit. The world, the overworld looked, I think, really good, even though there was nothing to do in it most of the time.
Yeah.
And the really big pull-away models, like the gears from like far away, or the Solaris whatever, and the ships all look really good.
How about the portrait of Sophia? Didn't that look really good?
You really like that portrait. So
I can't get enough of that thing. It's like, I mean, story-wise, it also makes it has a big impact too. So yeah, I don't know. That thing is amazing to me and beautiful. It's
a nice drawing of an anime woman.
Yeah, it is. How about the Tower of Babel? That's another thing that, like, I mean, I wrote a song about just that tower once.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So that's the like rusting, falling apart tower, right?
Right, and it's got a giant mirror on it, and that giant mirror is just like such a freaking standout, interesting, weird thing to me that I love.
It is. I think that place looks really cool. I think they capture the look of like a rusting, falling apart thing.
Yeah, metal
with the
thing.
Color palette that they went with, and just like the look at it, and you're kind of like, what is this place? And the one part that always threw me for it was, why is everything so fucking big? Why am I standing on top of this computer to use it?
Oh, right. That's
Why
a
am I
good
jumping
point.
around to get to this other computer? Like, who was in this room?
I think what that is like, because isn't the Babel Tower a piece of the Eldritch ship that broke off in the beginning? And so
was it?
I thought it was. If it is, that would mean that it's
That
actually
makes some sense.
that you're
It's sideways.
Yeah, so you're walking on like the screens that people would have looked at.
That makes more sense. Yeah, you're right.
I think I'm right. I'm not.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
Yeah.
No, that's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's got a really cool design. How they like show like the elevators going on the outside of it. and
Yeah,
stuff,
the
too.
elevator. Yeah, that part was really cool. Like, it makes a lot more sense when you put it that way, actually. But yeah, the whole mirror thing. Yeah,
Did the
it was a
character?
really cool play.
Sorry. Yeah, did the character portraits or gear design stand out to you? Because they stood out as freaking awesome to me.
So, like the character portraits when they're talking.
Yes.
I didn't notice anything too different about them. I love the design of the gears, though. Like, I really like those designs. They're really good. And especially, you're talking the 3D models of the gears, right?
Yeah, the 3D models. Yeah.
I think Weltall looks really interesting as a gear. It's easy for, like, mech anime gears to all look like a Gundam. Right. Like, they can all kind of look that way, that exact fucking thing.
Yeah.
And whenever they don't, I usually like it a lot because it's different.
Yeah. They look kind of like birds in this
They
game.
do, a bit. Yeah. Like, Weltall in particular was really good. I think I liked it because it looked kind of, I don't know, lame is not the right word, but, like, understated. Like, it was this sort of dupe purple. And
Weltall in particular, yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't like...
Yeah, it doesn't look as cool as any of the other gears at first, right?
Right. All the other gears look way more badass, and you find out why that is later on, but I thought that was a really cool choice for the gear, which is also supposed to be a really strong gear. It's not like a shitty gear that your guy has. It's clearly the best one.
Right.
But it doesn't look...
doesn't look like the best one. Yeah.
Right, it doesn't look like the best one at all. It eventually does, but not when you start. It eventually looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
when it turns into Xenogears.
Yeah, when it turns into Xenogears and all the big red ones that fly and the yellow one that what's his face had? Ramses, that guy who's really cool character, Ramses. We can talk about him. His character, man, he reminds me of Albedo from Xenosaga a lot. Because he just loses his mind with this obsession.
Yeah.
In a way. Like, I feel like they prototyped Albedo's character off of Ramses a little bit, at least.
What is your overall opinion of the soundtrack?
Very good.
Oh, yeah?
So this soundtrack was one that I had heard forever ago because it was one of those game soundtracks that's kind of notorious, right? Like, everyone kind of... It's one of the things people bring up about this game in the long term. And so I had heard on OC Remix a ton of different remixes from this game, had never played it. And I have some of those remixes still saved. They're some of the oldest ones I ever downloaded off of that website. And so a fair amount of this soundtrack I had heard close to release. Probably only like 4 or 5 years after release, having never touched any of them, any of the game. And when I having had heard it, like the Thames ship, incredible soundtrack. That's a really
that's a good song, isn't it? Yeah,
that's a really good one. It's gets in your head in a really good way, and a lot of the sort of weird mysticism soundtracks, the ones with like the weird talking in the background.
Yeah, so like there's I
don't know the names of the tracks.
Well, for example, there's the town of Dazil where you go in there and it's got like this like sitar sounding instrument going on, and it's got like these little kids going like ooh ibara.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's a very good one.
Yeah, so I like that one. And when you fight Krellian, the very, very last time when you're like, it's just Faye versus Krellian in Faye in Xenogears versus not Krellian himself versus like weird versus the Uroboros is the name of the enemy. Yeah, this weird like Medusa looking snake, Naga kind of thing. There's like this just all vocals kind of song, just like ha, 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 just like tons of voices going ha 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 ha. It's not particularly melodic or catchy, but it's got a really crazy atmosphere for sure. Mm-hmm. Is that the kind of song you mean? Maybe.
No, there was one with it happened. It comes in a lot throughout.
Is it whenever id comes up? Is it that one? Doesn't have any voices though.
There's weird talk. It's like almost like intercom. You would know what I'm talking about.
The boss battle. That's the boss battle music.
Is that the boss battle music?
Is it that one?
No, it's more. It's usually during cutscenes, and it does this weird panning effect where it comes in on one ear and it comes in on the other ear. Specifically, this like you're not supposed to know what they're saying. It's like this weird background talk, and it just sounds like.
It doesn't sound like military music with heavy, like, you know, some strings and some horns, and then
it's like, more mysterious music. I'll find the soundtrack and show it to you. But it has this one thing where it just sounds like a dude on an intercom.
It has to be that song I'm saying.
Indecipherable, maybe it is.
But that would be the boss music. That would be one of the boss themes, though. Like, you know, there's a scene where...
Yeah, I think because there's a couple parts to that song. It probably is that song.
I mean,
that track.
That particular song, the part that you're thinking of, if it is this part, when you say it sounds mystical, yeah, all the strings and the horns, they kind of die down, and then the harp comes in like...
Yeah.
And then over that, you can hear like, the intercom being like... sentence.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. So, a podcast found out what that is, and it's unbelievable. It's just like, what?
No. Is it
it's like what? Like you would never guess what it is. Never. Xenogears. How do I search for this? Xenogears. What is that song called? Night of Fire. Intercom. Vocals. God damn it. Is this it? This is it. Hold on. For years, people have tried to decipher just what the voice is saying in Xenogears' boss battle theme. Personally, the funniest guess I've heard is total butt sex in the gas chamber. Okay.
Nice.
Okay, but that's not it. Here it is. 3 years ago, user AwesomeID32000 posted that he discovered the same voice sample in the boss battle theme Night of Fire used in the game Command & Conquer Renegade. In the track Ammo Clip. That's the name of the song that uses that clip in Command & Conquer Renegade. Mm-hmm. And I can just kind of vouch for, I've heard a lot of vocal clips used in from other songs in for example, there's a song I don't know what the original song was, but I heard both in a Persona 3 song and a Star Ocean 3 song, come dance while I put you in a trance. Work that body, make sure you don't hurt nobody. Those words.
Okay.
So, that's been used by multiple people, and I'm sure it came from another real-life American song or something. But anyway, going on. Another user in the topic made out the words total... Here it is. Another user in the topic made out the words. So these are the words, yo. Total sentence imposed is 10 years in the state prison. That's what it said. Is that not the weirdest thing you've ever heard? So I always thought it was like some kind of military intercom jargon like you thought.
It totally is that. It fits exactly. Like if you say it kind of quickly in your head, it fits exactly. That's exactly it. And
so here's what that's from. It's from... a CNN newscast in July 2004.
Wait a minute.
Wait?
No way.
Oh, yeah, this broadcast...
That's after the game came out.
But that came from something else, right? Didn't it? Okay, well, hold on. Let me just keep going what it says. That's a good point. Oh, yeah, here it is. It says it right here. This broadcast documents the death of Marlon Brando and takes a look back at his life. The above quote is used during the trial of Christian Brando for murdering Dag Drolet in 1990. That's what that's from. A guy named Christian Brando, Marlon Brando's brother or something, killed someone named Dag Drolet in 1990. That's when they had the trial for that, and they said that.
Wow.
Isn't that the weirdest thing you ever heard in your entire life?
That is fucking banana.
It is said by Judge Robert Thomas inside of the Santa Monica Courthouse in Los Angeles, California. Without audio or video, we have been unable to validate the source of the voice sample. Last year, a documentary on Brando was released by Stephen Riley called Listen to Me, Marlo. The film shows footage of the trial and features the video of the sentence at 1 hour 29 minutes 40 seconds. This confirms the source of the sample, which is cut in Xenogears, to total sentence is imposed in 10. Oh, that's all it says in the Xenogears song? Hi, there you go.
Oh, wow. That's a hell of a wormhole to go down. That's awesome.
Yeah. I heard that on another podcast.
I love how people figured that out. That's great.
Yeah. So that is the coolest thing I've ever heard.
That is really cool. So yes, that song,
Night of Fire.
I know I heard that remixed a couple times, along with a bunch of other tracks. It's a really strong soundtrack. I think it fares a bit better than Xenosagas, because I think they ran into some issues with that game's soundtrack in particular. It was like really short.
Well, this one's also kind of short. I mean, it's really
pretty
long,
short too.
It's a really long game with like a little bit too few songs, right?
Yeah, but wasn't there more variety in the battle music in this game?
Not that much. I mean, it still needed more, like, because there are lots of really important story battles that don't have their own special music. Deus, the final boss had its own music, but like that battle with Deus was just like the normal. Either there's like the Gear boss battle music, and then there's the Night of Fire boss battle music, and then the final battle music. And I think that's the only boss music tracks you get. And all the regular battles get that one song.
Right. I'm pretty sure Xenosaga had a single fight music.
Yeah, I think only the final boss had a different song, and all the other bosses. Yeah, even the bosses had the normal battle song, right?
It was all that one track.
Yeah, which I thought was a good track, but
it was good. It was very good. It wasn't good enough, but it was good.
Yeah, not good enough to play it every battle. Okay. My standout song, mostly from Xenogears, of course, is the opening, the anime song, that opening cinema song. That entire background music is really cool. The final boss music, it's called Awakening, I believe, has always been a favorite of mine. Way back in the day, I think I learned how to play the violin part on guitar. Don't remember how to play it now. And and Emeralda's theme, or like the Zeboim era theme, it's called. It's called either June Mermaid or October Mermaid. It's like two versions with just different months in the name, and that drives me crazy. But something mermaid. It's the one that's like mostly harps. I really like it. All right, now we're gonna get on to like some gameplay stuff. First, going into Dungeon, Town, and World Map Exploration. So you said you had to watch the end of Disc 2. Did that guy go to the Zeboim era with Emeralda? Oh, good. Did you see that scene?
Yeah, he did everything. Yeah, so he saw, I mean, to what extent I remember everything from it, I don't know, but he went to the underground city, right?
That's the one, yeah.
Right, yeah. So he went there, and there was a whole scene with him and Emeralda, and who she was, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, she turned into an adult, right?
Yes, she turned into an adult.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm impressed that they for several characters, they made like 2 whole sets of moves. Like Satan has like his regular move and version, and then the sword version of all his moves. And Emeralda has the kid version and the adult version of all her moves. So that's pretty impressive. I don't know. I just get a really, really crazy feeling when I go in there because even though it's supposed to be like, they've got
It's
nano.
eerie.
I'm sorry?
You mean the city? Yeah, it's like eerie. It's creepy.
It's creepy, but it's like it's in a different way than just creepy because it's not like just scary and dark. It's like there's something about the Zeboim era because it's like they've got nanomachine technology, coming up in that era. Because Emeralda is just a nanomachine body that was built in that era.
Mm-hmm.
But like you go in there and it's like you go into for example, a news studio or a TV studio, and it's like got just like the same kind of stage lights and microphones and
Right.
things that like it's like the 80s or the 90s.
Right.
It's like the
Yeah.
90s, but they've got freaking. It's like I kind of think of Zeboim era as our era, just that they also have nanomachines.
That's
And that
what it was supposed to be.
you thought so too, huh? Okay, I didn't make that up.
I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be like this is today, but
Yeah.
with whatever technology. So that was supposed to be sort of the parallel. I mean, it looks like, I guess, like a Japanese metropolis down there, right?
Mhm. And there's one place you can go in, and if you like push a button, I wonder if that guy did it. It showed like an anime still art of like the wife of the prime minister of that era, or the wife of the mayor or the president or something. And like that was interesting because I think they made a comment that was the Myang of this era. I don't know.
Oh, right.
The
Yeah,
whole-
the whole Miang thing is another part of confusion. I guess we should have asked Karen.
I think I understand that though. Well,
Okay.
Go ahead and ask
Well,
me.
so she's reincarnated, right?
Right, every time. Just as soon as she dies, another one pops up like pretty soon
Got it.
after. Yeah, I think that's all it is to it.
Okay.
And the reason for that is, so did you notice, so going back into story stuff, so did you get that the entire population of this world was created by a weapon system, a weapon
Yeah.
that was like, it has to make all these parts to fix itself or whatever, and then it makes all the parts of humans is the problem, and that's why they're having problems. Like humans are just all, created by a weapon system, and eventually we're supposed to all go back into that weapon system and be part of Deus, but it turns out that those parts that she makes, humans, have all these things they want to do that aren't that, and so it creates complications. That is like an amazing idea for a story.
It's a pretty wild story. So from what I gather, like the backstory, so to speak, is that the weapon system was on the Eldritch. It was something went wrong, and it crashed on the planet that the event of the story takes place on. And the nature of this thing it was carrying is that it's able to create life, I guess.
It's like a weapon that has AI or something, is what it is.
Okay.
So,
and basically all the life on this planet is born out of it.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. So we're all just parts of a weapon, soon to be.
We're all part of a weird weapon system.
Yeah. That's like supposed to blow up planets and stuff, soon to be reabsorbed back into it when we're not ready for it.
Right.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know. I just have a real. Sorry?
Cadmony is the name of a place in that.
Wasn't it the name of, like, not the place, it was
where
the name?
it's where the weapon system landed.
No, I thought where the system landed?
It's like the cradle of humanity on that planet.
Is that...
They call it Cadmony.
Wait,
I'm pretty
okay.
sure.
So when they go to, like, that place, and they're, like, looking at all these computers and data inside of the computers, Cadmony referred to it as Raziel's tree. Was that the name of the computer, or was the Cadmony the name of the computer?
I think Cadmony is the place.
Okay, Cadmony's the place. Okay, where Raziel's tree computer is. Okay,
I think so. Correct. Yes.
I think you got that right. Yeah. Okay. What are your favorite dungeon designs in the game? Were there any interesting ones that stood out to you that you liked? I know you hated freaking Babel Tower. That's like one of my favorite dungeons. I know it's long, but
I warmed up to it a little bit. The jumping got me because it's bad.
it's fine. No, the jumping's fine. I don't get
The
it.
jumping's not fine. It's the
What's wrong with
perspective
it?
on the swinging rope thing. The
What's wrong with-
perspective is really hard to get, like, where you need to go. I found it difficult.
I mean, you just push the jump button at the left side of the when the rope is on the left side, right?
Yeah, but it's not just on the left. It's like on the left and slightly toward the screen.
Okay.
You can't line it up directly, I don't think.
I mean, just from the point of view of the camera of what we're looking at, it's swimming mostly just left and right. It doesn't go. It only has 2D movement, right? It just goes back and forth. It doesn't go like on
the
any
game
other
has-
axes, right?
Well, the game has what? Directional movement, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't remember if the camera locks itself or not. But whatever. Like,
I think it did, but I could have swore it wasn't just like a head-on left and right. Like it was at a slight scance from. I don't know.
I thought it was
that
just left
rope
and
kind
right.
of tripped me up. Maybe
Okay.
it was. But so other than that, just some of the other problem with the jumping is you can get knocked out of your jump by a random battle.
Yes, that is
That's
true.
dumb.
That's bad.
That is bad.
That
You
is
shouldn't
bad.
allow that to happen.
But there is a very easy fix for that I don't know I've never heard anybody else say. Like maybe I'm the only person in the world who's thought of it. If you just stop right at the place you're gonna jump, and then jump from a standstill rather than a running jump, that can't happen to you. Because
Are you sure?
you won't get. Yeah. So the thing that happened to you was you were approaching the jump. You pushed the jump button and it didn't jump because then it went into a battle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I don't.
yeah.
Yeah, you can't get into a battle in midair, so yeah, no problem. And since this game doesn't have like momentum or anything, you just hold the dash button and then just start pushing forward right immediately after you press the jump button and just jump from a standing still position.
Yeah, if
And-
you
and it'll be-
remember what direction you had to go in.
Right, if you can remember. Yeah, that's another problem.
It's the other kind of problem with random battles in general. But
Yeah.
the way this game handles random encounter triggers is a little strange. Did
What do
you
you
notice that?
I don't know.
So,
What do you mean?
a lot of games will like roll the dice, so to speak, every time your character moves, like walks.
Right, I
This
see.
game does it on almost any button press, including camera pan.
Camera moving. Yeah, there's a lot of games that actually do that for some reason.
And I noticed it can trigger almost no matter what you do, including opening doors and chests, can
Yeah.
trigger a battle.
I think that probably right before you pressed the button to open it, it was triggered, is what I always assumed.
It may have, but I feel it happened to be enough on the button press where I think every time you perform any kind of input, it checks to see if it
If
wants to
there's
do a battle.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, so that's
Which
annoying.
is weird. I don't know that I've played a random encounter battle game that works that way.
Mm-hmm. Favorite dungeon designs?
I mean, design-wise, I think the Tower of Babel, it looks really great. I think it was a little hard to navigate, though.
Yeah. Sorry, I meant like layout-wise, like level design-wise. Sorry. Are
I
there
mean,
any?
that too, other than the jumping for me. It was cool to see all that story, because that's when you're really getting your first like look at the old technology stuff come to life and whatever. And the look of it was cool, though. Getting way up in the clouds was really cool.
I liked even that very first gear dungeon that you go in where you're in the stalactite cave with Bart, just you and Bart, and you have to go and turn off those two switches and then ask the guy to open the gate. I thought that was kind of nice.
Anytime where you need to get out of the gears to do something and you get that really tiny little sprite running around,
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
I
I think when
it's
they
cool
do
too.
that is really fun when
Yeah.
they manage to make that work. I think getting in and out of your gears is a pain in the ass.
So you probably didn't know the controller shortcut, did you?
There's a control shortcut.
Yeah, if you just
Okay,
push L2, R2 at the same time, boom, they just jump out.
Damn. I didn't know that.
I don't know if that was in the menu anywhere or if it was in the maybe it was in the instruction
maybe
manual.
It was. Yes, correct. Yeah, maybe. So I was going in and pressing the toggle for each of them.
Right.
And those menus, boy, the menu layout in this game is a little funky.
I guess it is.
It's weird. It's a little weird.
Yeah,
there's a whole separate version of the menu for the gears, and I don't know. And it's hard to compare stats.
Of like
of
of
what
equipment.
you're buying. Yeah, what you're buying.
Oh, in shops it is. They just have that one number that they show you, right?
There's a one number, and then it's tough to say, do I have this already? Do I not? Is this like bleh? And so basically I ended up with a giant inventory full of garbage because I never knew what I could sell.
Oh, I see.
And it wasn't even sorted the right way. Like, it was kind of sorted whatever way it wanted to be. Sometimes the newer stuff was at the bottom, but not always.
Yeah. It's really
It was kind
weird
of a
too,
pain.
the item menu. Like there's like no like sorted by type or anything. Like there's no way to sort it except for
Yeah.
manually, one by one.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
Yeah, I didn't do that either.
I felt like items were... It was fine because I had very few occasions to use items. I healed more from... Well, no, that's a lie. I used one item all the time, basically. The
Rosa salt or the
the
healing
one
item?
that heals... Yeah, the real good one that only works out of battle.
Oh, right. That's the way to go.
It's like
Omega
super
Sol.
cheap. The Omega Sol, yeah. And then in battle, the magic, there was more than enough healing magic. Like, MP was never a problem.
Yeah. Basically
So,
isn't a problem, yeah.
yeah. Unlike fuel, which we'll get to, I guess.
Oh, wow. Okay, did you get anything out of town exploration? For me personally, that town, the capital of Ave, Bledavik, is just
Yes.
insane. Like, oh my god, so many little vendors and stuff out there, a few of which you can buy things from.
Right.
So many like kids and people running around. It's insane.
I started talking to a lot of the NPCs when I started the game, like in Lahan and Dazzle, and so there is a lot of backstory and flavor that you can pull out of this game from character NPCs that you talk to. I stopped doing that toward the end as much, but I think, yeah, Bledavik is a really good example of just like a really dense area. It's actually still quite small, but they pack a lot of people in there.
Yeah.
And there's little like hidden passageways to run around in, and it's cool. It's a nice little place.
The most mind-blowing thing I've ever seen, like in exploring a town. It's not actually when you explore the town, though. If you go into the restaurant, though, you can see they have a big fish tank. Did you see that?
In Bledavik?
Yeah, in Bledavik, there's a restaurant you can in one of the buildings, and they've got a big, not
Probably
fish
saw
tank,
it.
but a water tank at least, and
Okay.
it's got like one of those, it's like a fish tank, so it's got these
Yeah,
little,
I remember where it is. Yeah.
yeah, it's got these little I don't know what they're made of, but little things that you put in fish tanks to decorate them, to make them look like, for example, you put a little scuba diver looking guy inside to make it look like he's scuba diving in there, and you put like
Okay.
a treasure chest in there and stuff. You know what I'm talking about, like in real life?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's like a treasure chest in there, and I totally thought it was just a decoration. But when you go in there with Bart and you swimming around in the sewers, there's like a pipe, and you would seriously just like swim past it, but if you like touch it, you can climb it, and you'll pop up inside that freaking restaurant fish
Oh,
tank
wow.
and get that chest. It's just a freaking gold nugget, but it's just like, it's like the greatest piece of exploration I ever seen.
That is very funny. I did not do that. That
Yeah.
swimming part was confusing.
It is, right? You don't know where to go, and then the current pushes you back
It
sometimes.
takes forever.
Right.
Oh my god.
Okay, so did you find anything that you think might be a secret?
Maybe. I'm not sure, honestly. Is there something in mind, like a thing that you thought was cool, secret-wise?
Well, there are lots of secrets. Most of them are in the towns. For example, in the beginning. Yeah, in your house, like there's like a spider web, like a cobweb in the corner, and if you like jump up and press the X button on it, you'll just take it, and you can use it in. When you use that is you use it in. What's the name of that city? The floating city, Shavat.
Shavat, right?
You use it way later in Shavat, and when you go to Sitan's house, there's like there's some flowers right in front of their door or whatever, and if you jump to like the house side of the flowers and push the button over there, you'll find Sitan's daughter, Midori. You'll find her ring. Midori's ring is the name of the item. And if you keep that, just like forever, all the way at the very end of the game when you're in the crashed Shavat snowfield hideout, if you find Midori and his wife Yui there and give them back the ring, they'll give you like a way awesome like accessory for it and stuff.
Oh boy.
There's all kinds of things like that.
I got the impression that there were a couple because there's like, hey, like, you want to invest in my whatever the fuck thing, and you got to give them like 3,000 gold or whatever.
Yeah.
You get something back for that, right?
I think he opens a shop like end game if you go to the town.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right.
something like that. There's also in Shavat there's like there are those moving platforms, and there's that room with a bunch of choo-choos in it, right?
I was about to say that room had something in it, right?
That room had all kinds of crazy stuff in it, and
oh boy.
but wait, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. One of those rooms at Shavat, one of those moving platforms you stand on, it's not moving.
Oh yeah.
And
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and if you keep on doing looking for a whole bunch of other things, you'll find a Dusk Rock, a Dawn Rock, and a
I got
Twilight
one or two of those.
Rock or something. Yeah. You got two of them?
I got one or two of them.
Oh, man. Yeah, if you get all three of them, put them in that thing, it takes you to this room, and in that room, you get a whole bunch of use items, including those drive items that you can use to up your stats, which is cool.
Permanently up your stats, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing that matters is you get an accessory called the Power Crisis, and the lower your HP, the more damage you do, and it's like triple damage at low HP. So that's pretty cool too.
For some reason, this reminds me of one of the other dungeons that's kind of a standout. It's the first one where you get Billy, that like locker train shit.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah, that was a good one. You have to like turn on the light
everywhere.
And stuff.
Yeah. It was actually scary.
Okay. I think we are on to the battle system. This is the final topic here. What did you think of, before we get to the actual battle system, what did you think of the battle arena in Kislev, that mini game that you played?
I thought it was close to being fun.
Close,
but not quite there. Yeah, I thought it was a little too like loose feeling, like it didn't feel tight enough. But you could kind of get, there was some skill involved, but it still felt a little too fiddly.
Mm-hmm. My method was to just immediately throw an ether shot, because I think those are unblockable, I think, and then like run in and like start trying to do square button attacks or whatever right behind it.
Yeah, you can cheap shot guys like right off the start, like before the game starts almost, and then like basically the other, like there's all these other like you gotta cool down, but jump into the water, like just like run away a little bit, and then run back in and punch him in the face.
Okay, so did you figure out the death blow system?
I did, and then I looked online because I was like, I'm not doing this right, am I? And it turned out I was. Like, I was basically doing what I needed to do.
For the next one.
So, but when I looked online, I found out a little bit more is, how, like the exact way that you unlock the extra death blows. And it's simpler than I thought it would have been. But the part that I got hung up on, which I thought I was doing something wrong, was the combo system, which is useless.
It's got a couple good battles where if you use it, it's easier. Like that battle.
There's a couple boss fights where you don't want to give them the opportunity to attack, right?
Well, there's a couple boss fights where like if you attack them, they'll like counter or something.
Right.
Or
yes.
if you use a death blow, maybe they'll counter or something. And so you build up your AP and then let it out all at once or something.
Right. So that way they only counter you once or not at all, I guess.
Yeah, something like that.
But prior to that, I thought building up your combo for the death blows combos was like the way to go. Because that's kind of how it works in Xenosaga and the other Saga games, where you have the stock system. And usually what you're doing is you're inputting a reduced turn to save up for a stronger turn later.
Yeah.
And that's really not the way this works because it's the same amount of damage.
Yeah, it is the same amount of damage in the end, yeah.
So really, unless you have a reason to, you should just do the damage.
You should just do it. Exactly. That's correct. Yeah. The really sad aspect of the death blow system is that you're basically the way it is. You need to do the next one that you haven't learned, which means you're just doing normal punches and kicks the whole time.
Yeah.
And you're not using all your awesome death blows.
Using your kick-ass, you learn a kick-ass death blow that it took you a long time to learn. And you're like, well, all right, put that on the shelf and never use it. Time to learn the next one.
Yeah.
And you have so many. It's like, am I ever going to use all of these?
Yeah. Freaking Faye has 2 more than anyone else, and like you can't even unlock them until you're like level 80 or something, 80 something, I think. And yeah, that last one's crazy.
And I needed to have a little like cheat sheet out in front of me because I couldn't fucking remember what all the button combos were for these stupid death blows.
I found it actually really easy to have them all memorized because it's kind of it's got an order, right? I mean,
it follows an order, but I don't know, for some reason I couldn't keep it in my head.
Yeah, they all end with X. So then you do 1 point plus X, and then the next one you're going to learn is 2 1 points in the X, and then the next one you're going to learn is the 2 point in the next. And the next one is going to be 3 1 points in X, and then 1 1 point and a 2 point in the next. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's true. It is true. I don't think if I had thought of it that way, I probably would have been able to memorize it eventually. But it was, I think it was cool. It kind of tried to give you something to work for, and you did also learn like the skills, which were a little disappointing, right? Like I don't know how many of the skills you really used.
You mean when
the character skills, like the
death blows
abilities.
Or the abilities?
The other things.
Yeah, not as many. Yeah,
not too many, right? Like there were a couple
good
buffs and debuffs. Apparently, there's a broken one. You know about this?
Broken, like it's really good.
Yeah.
Which one is that? I mean,
the one
Wild Smile's pretty crazy.
No, it's one that Faye has. So Faye has a buff where he increases his attack power and it decreases his defense.
Okay.
It's glitched. It doesn't decrease his defense.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's just a free damage.
Nice.
Yeah, I forget what it's called, but my other problem with it, yeah, something like that. My other problem with it is, especially, I mean, maybe it's because I don't speak Japanese or whatever, but all of Satan's
names
abilities sound the same, and I'm like, I can't remember what any of these do.
Yeah.
I have to look at the tooltip every time.
But phase ones really too, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're all kind of whatever. But yeah, Satan has a lot of really good healing ones. Billy, but I don't know. Did you find Billy obnoxious to use, or was that just like me not understanding what I'm doing?
It is kind of annoying to have to like buy ammo for him and try to figure out where in that equip menu it's supposed to be equipped.
Yeah.
And like there are also like better guns you can buy, but when you go into the menu to equip the one that is supposed to be better, it doesn't show any difference in attack, so you're not sure which one is the better one. Yeah, I found that obnoxious and annoying as well. But I just don't worry about it. I use him, but I just don't worry about that, and I mostly spend all my time using his ether guns, which is on the square button, which have infinite ammo.
Right.
And you can just buff his ether attack, and that'll up his ether guns attack.
Right.
So that's what I was doing.
Yeah. I didn't use Billy too much, but we'll get into that. As far as the death blows go, yeah, they were all right. They look awesome.
Right? Yeah, they look.
They
amazing.
really do look cool.
Let's see here. Okay, yeah. Before we go on to gear battles, so were there any good human boss battles that you liked? I really liked that battle with just Faye and Bart versus Ramses and Myong. I really like that battle. It's a pretty hard one.
I think the one where you fight Id on the bridge.
Oh yeah,
was
that's
really
badass.
tense.
Yeah,
Like that was like down to the wire for me. Like
that's
I
the
really
time to
almost
bring
didn't
Billy.
beat that.
That's the time to bring Billy because he starts with that spell that heals everyone. And it's like full HP too.
Yeah, I didn't do that, and I feel like I probably should have, but I was able to get through it. But he was like, I was constantly rezzing people that entire match, and
Oh, wow.
it was close. It was really close.
That means it felt good too, though, right? When that happened.
It did.
Yeah.
I beat it on my first try, but it felt like I wouldn't be able to. Like, I wasn't sure. I'm like, am I supposed to win this fight?
I swear, these guys
I
are like
know.
the king of doing that, right? Like, because this is largely the same people who made Chrono Trigger, I think. And
Yeah.
like that Magus boss battle, how about that, right?
Yes.
That was great,
And,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really fun one, and I won that fight. And I found out later you're not supposed to win it, or you don't have to.
The Magus boss battle, you have to win, dude.
Are we thinking of the wrong thing? You're talking
Chrono Trigger? That one?
Magus. Yeah, I'm thinking
Which one did you think?
Margulis.
A Margulis. Yeah, that one also, right? And the one before him is pretty crazy too, where you basically have to put them to sleep or you won't win. Sorry, we're getting into other games now.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, so how about the gear battles? They have a bunch of different mechanics. For one, you have to keep track of fuel. You can't ever bring a gear back to life if it gets 0 HP. And you
Right.
have these power levels that restrict which death blows you can use.
Yeah, I thought it. Unfortunately, it traded off looking cool and being cool, like just sort of aesthetically, for less cool gameplay. It's way more restrictive, and I feel like you spend a lot of time just like pressing triangle and then canceling your turn to
get
build
the
up
higher
your power level. And I'm like, that's not fun. It's kind of slow and boring. Like,
I see
you
what
have
you're
to do this every time. You have to do it at least twice to get to a really strong death blow.
You can just use the
Or
X
do-
button, though.
Yeah, or you could just do the level 1 death blow, and then, like, that's kind of boring. You have all these other cool ones that you can always do with your on-foot characters,
Yeah.
and then you have to worry about fuel.
I like
So you have
that,
to,
though.
like,
I like worrying about
do?
fuel. Yeah, it's
I don't
it makes
know
it
if
more
I
tense.
did. It does, but I
Like
felt
back-
like I was like choosing not to get into fights that I would have otherwise, because I'm like, I'm gonna waste fuel.
well, I mean, the battles are random. You ran away from some battles, is what you mean?
Well, either that or I would like not
Go
attack
down a
with certain
path.
characters.
Oh, I see.
And because getting fuel back is like basically impossible.
Yeah, it's a pretty low, right? Unless you're gonna like equip for it, and really only end game you can get it back quickly with, and you have to use an accessory slot to make it work. Yeah, basically, if you run
Yeah.
out of fuel, you're getting destroyed already.
If your power level is higher, do you get more fuel back?
I
when you
think
charge?
I think when you reach not at level 2 or 3, but I think when you reach level infinity, you get 10
which-
times.
I never did, by the way.
What?
It never triggered. And
In
I looked up online. I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And apparently it's random, right?
Kind of random. So it's pretty cool. You know that little display on the like the top right side of your screen when you're in a gear battle? It says like agility level and
Maybe
like camera damage.
A
Like,
lot
there's
of
a bu-
shit on the screen in those.
Right, but that one is actually, it looks like a decoration, but it actually tells you useful information. So, for example, if you go into your stats, your gear stats menu, you can see like your gear's speed. So let's just say that Weltal's speed is 10, for example. And so like you wouldn't think you need to like see that you have 10 speed when you're in battle, because it'd be the same as when you saw it outside of battle. But if you're in the desert, it's like -2 speed, and when you're in battle, it'll say like 8 instead of 10. And then you can equip some things that make you faster in battle, for example, and that will only be visible how much agility you have when you're in the battle and stuff. So that's kind of a cool thing. And one of the things is it says like hyper mode and then just a colon and it says like
Right.
the percentage.
Yeah.
That is your percentage chance to go into hyper mode if you
Right.
just not use a combo at level 3. But you can do things to increase it. That is, I think you just, if you take damage, it goes up. But in the case of Xenogears, Xenogears, it always has a 99% chance.
I probably did go into it then, because there was at least 1 or 2 fights.
Well, you never had Xenogears yourself, right? You just watched it, right?
Did I? I thought, wasn't there a fight? That's the red one, right? Or is that the white one?
No, the Xenogears is the white one.
Okay, I didn't get that one.
Yeah, that's the last one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of random, but it's got a percentage chance, and you can increase it by taking damage.
Yeah. Prior to that, no. I just, it never triggered. I don't know. Was there anything else I could have done?
To make it trigger? No, just keep fighting, and when it looks like you've taken enough damage, and it looks like you've got a more than 30 or something % chance to do, then that's when you decide to start maybe not using your combo or whatever, and hope that it happens.
Maybe that's why. I was always using combos, so I probably kept dumping the hyper whatever meter without realizing it. But I think if your fuel refueled after every fight and the overall amount of fuel you had was less, it would have made more sense to me. Instead of it always carrying over throughout the duration of
the dungeon
or whatever, you find like a little service bot or whatever. I feel like that, because you can screw yourself by getting into many random battles. Like, that's dumb.
I mean, well, but yeah, you have to. But you can always usually go back to find the person who will refill it. And sometimes there are enemies that'll refill your fuel, but that's also takes experimentation, because you wouldn't know it at first, and you might just kill them instantly.
I didn't realize that was a thing. But also, the only part where that kind of happened was in the Tower of Babel, because again, the jumping, not after the rope, there was another jumping section.
Yeah.
That was, you had to jump up this long tall part of the dungeon.
Right, you keep going up, yeah.
Yeah, I fell down there at least twice.
Yeah, I fell down lots of times my first time too. It drove me crazy too.
Ugh, because the little tiny platforms, you could slide off of them. It was fuck.
Okay, so what are your favorite boss battles? Overall, any battle.
I think the what were the name of those women?
The Elements.
Yeah. The one where they turned into a fucking Megazord. That was awesome. With the fucking roaring lion mouth.
The head on the front of it.
Really great. I had no idea that was going to happen at all. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
What, they're just transforming together? This is great.
I get the feeling that their plan was to make Ramses a playable character, and then you're going to be friends with the...
Oh, wow.
I get the feeling that that's what they were eventually going to go to, instead of just... if you're at the very end of the game in the crashed Shivat snowfield hideout, that last little town that you start in Disc 2, there's Ramses is there somewhere, and if you go see him, there's a scene that you'll see where Satan's talk to him, and he's like, I'm just trash. Just leave me alone. I'm trash. And freaking Satan slaps him and says, the hell are you saying? You're not trash. If you're trash, what does that say about the Elements girls? They're staying by you all this time. And then he goes and talks to Faye, and Faye's like, yeah, I would like to face him just as, fun rivals rather than enemies someday. And I feel like they were going to allow him to join us eventually, but it didn't happen.
Maybe. Yeah. Ramses is a really weird one. He really unravels, fucking big time.
Because he seems so freaking confident, in the beginning when you see him, such a badass, this guy's going to be a problem for us, we think. And he was a problem for us lots of times. But he's just starts going insane more and more as the game goes on. He
just loses his fucking mind and is the most self-loathing, insecure dude in the whole game.
Yeah.
And it's wow, this guy's self-destructing in a crazy way.
Yeah. But they showed his little scene where Faye's mom is yeah, we don't need him. he's garbage.
Yeah. Like they set it up to be like a real tragic, like
Yeah.
even from like birth, he was like, just fuck this guy, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So
they really
set it up, but
they really exaggerated it too, like the way that like nobody would ever say it that meanly. Right?
yeah, exactly. It was so on the nose.
Yeah. Okay. Which do you prefer? Xenogears or Xenosaga Episode 1?
Combat wise.
Okay, combat wise.
That's what you wrote. That's what you wrote in the question.
Oh, I did say battle system, didn't I? Right. Which battle system?
Yeah.
That is what I meant, isn't it?
I guess I would go. That's kind of a tough choice. I was gonna say Xenosaga because I like the on foot. I like the strategy that comes with those on foot battles. The gear battles basically don't exist in Episode 1.
Yeah.
To the
they're
extent
optional.
that they do, they're not good. They're really not balanced very well. There's a whole gear. Nah, they're not. There's a whole gear like
upgrading
battle
thing you can do, right?
system
Right. There
that's
is.
in there, and you can buy weapons, and you can spend a lot of money on those weapons, and you can use gears like for most of the game. But it's not a good idea, and it's really hard to like you do it for fun, but you shouldn't probably. And I did one playthrough where that's like all I did was I used gears, and I was like, wow, there's like a whole half of a game in here that you don't have to touch.
Right.
It's kind of crazy. But I think still Xenosaga's battle system is more complete than Xenogears, because I think the death blow system feels unfinished. Something about it feels like they didn't quite wrap it up. And then for me, I think the gear battles in Xenogears are even more unfinished. Like, it's all very cool, but in execution, it feels really limited. And I felt like there was more going on in Xenosaga Episode 1, even though that game is also got its shortcomings. I felt like there was more strategy with learning the tech skills or tech abilities and the ether abilities and stuff like that. So I don't know. I guess I would lean towards Xenosaga, but Xenogears is maybe a little more diverse overall.
Battle system wise, is Xenogears more? I guess maybe it is, yeah, because it does have.
It does have actual gears.
It does, yeah. Like it's a different battle system entirely, yeah.
Yeah, it's a different battle system. It's a very different feel, and they improved. They fixed this in Episode 2 and 3, but in Episode 1, it's not.
I felt like the Xenogears Episode 1 battle system was really solid. And so, yeah, when I first played this game, Xenogears, I thought that even the battle systems also were like really great. In fact, I still like them a lot now. And particularly the way a lot of the boss battles are kind of like puzzles, and they do things to freak you out. Like, yeah. Like when you fight the, not Wilhelm, what's the name of the guy with the cross on his face? Vanderkaam.
Yes.
And you're fighting his invincible fleet, and he keeps making mistakes, man. That whole scene is awesome. And when you finally fight his final gear or whatever in there called the Dora, you start attacking it and you do 0 damage, and you just start panicking like, what am I supposed to do? And you can use Ether on it and it does 0 damage. And everything you do does 0 damage, and you don't know what's going on. And the thing is, you just have to hit it 9 times to break off that front plate, and then you start taking damage. And I thought that was the most genius thing in the whole world.
Isn't he in Xenosaga too?
It's like the same guy, yeah.
It's the same guy.
He's called Vanderkaam in this one, and he's called Vander something else in that one, right?
He's Vanderkaam. He's Lieutenant Commander Vanderkaam in the other one.
Yeah, and he's got the freaking gray cross,
he's got this weird,
I don't know
think
what
it might
that
be
is.
the other way around on his head. Like it's a cross instead of an X. Or the other way around.
Which one is it in X? Xenogears?
It's a
I thought it was a cross
in Xenogears, and it's an X.
in
Xenosaga for
Okay.
some reason. It's like the same dude though.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of the battles are like kind of puzzly like that, and I really enjoyed that. And another one that I always think of when somebody asks me, what's a great boss battle you remember playing? It was the Deus one, where every time you attack him, he heals himself for 16,000 damage, and you can only do like 4,000 damage in a single attack.
That was a good fight. Like, I got through a surprising amount of that fight before it fucking stopped working. But I was in the process of like trying to figure out. I was like, oh, okay, all right. So I gotta wait till I can wail on him hard enough to do more than he can heal. You have to basically one shot him.
Yeah. So I thought that was so cool. And it's crazy because the way that works is he does that attack and it reduces all your guys' HP by half, which is another reason to like make you panic. But it also halves his own HP. Yeah, so it's amazing.
Yeah, that was an interesting fight. There was a fight before that where there's that robot. I forget who was in there. The guy running Ave was in there.
Oh, that one, yeah. Shakan was in there.
Yeah, Shakan, and it was like tethered to that thing, so he could do some of his attacks, but other times he could do. That was interesting. That was a good one.
Mm-hmm. So you didn't get to fight any of the really the end game boss battles. The last time you fight Ramses, his first thing he does, you saw it, I think, Devastator Wave number 3 or something, or Wave number 3 Devastator, and it just reduces all your guys to 1 HP.
I saw that, yes.
And it's like, oh my god, this. We're in Gears. If they hit 0 HP, they can't come back to life.
Right.
So yeah, there's that, and then right after that, you fight freaking Myung in that gigantic serpent gear called Amphisvina or something. It's got such a weird spelling, Amphisvina or something, and it's like it's crazy. It's like if you attack it, it increases its defense and its ether attack. And so if you attack it again, it increases its defense and its ether attack. And so by the third attack, you're doing hardly any damage, but it's like ether attack is going to keep going through the roof. So you have to like, and then at the end, it's going to release it all. So you have to do this weird balancing act of like hitting it only once or twice and then like waiting it out or something. And then at the end, it doesn't matter what you do. It just starts going up like at random, at set intervals. And so you have to hurry up and just kill her as fast as you can. That is such a dramatic battle, man. So yeah, I like a lot of the battles in this game. But I think in the end I prefer Xenosaga as well. And it's just because of what it's that boost turn system is so freaking sweet, and it's it's got that roulette wheel that changes. And so you need to use the boost to get the situation that you want, either a critical hit or, when you kill them, you can get more points and stuff. And I think that is such a freaking great idea, for a turn-based battle system. So
yeah, they dropped it in subsequent ones.
Well, it was really slow, right?
It was a little slow, but I still think that the boss fights in the first Xenosaga are among some of the most tense boss fights that at least I ever played.
Yeah, they were hard for me too.
Really, just long, crazy, drawn out, fucking hard boss fights.
Yeah. So yeah, in the end, I guess my favorite game has changed. When I first played this game, this was my favorite game. And it wasn't beaten or in question until I played Valkyrie Profile. And then I was thinking, maybe I like Valkyrie Profile, I want a little bit more. So now this is number 2. And then that wasn't in question until I played Alundra, which is not an RPG, it's a Zelda clone. And so, yeah. But now, so for the longest time, I was like, yeah, it's like Alundra, Valkyrie Profile, Xenogears for like the longest time. But like these days, I'm just like, you know what? This is a great game. But it's just like I can't skip the goddamn cutscenes, and I want to play it. So now I can think of a lot of games I'd rather play than Xenogears, unfortunately.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
It's a really imperfect, slow, game of its time. I think now, having walked away from it and it being the first time I played it, it's definitely worth a first playthrough even today if this is the genre of games that you like. I don't think that you would run into that issue. Obviously, if you're willing to put the time into it's a long game and it is slow, but if you're into that, if you're listening to this show, you probably are.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I think this game ages really well. As kind of one of the sort of founding principles of this show, like how well does this thing age? I think it ages really well. I would actually take it a step further. I think today, I don't know if you've noticed, but there are a lot of games coming out from people, roughly our age,
who
are now making games that look like PS1 games.
Yeah. There's a Breath of Fire spiritual successor coming out. Is that what you mean? Stuff like this?
I didn't know about that one.
Oh, sorry. What do you mean?
Well, there's a lot of not necessarily role-playing games, but there's a game that came out maybe a week ago or less called Proteus, which is like a Doom or Quake clone that looks like one of those games from its era, like early 3D games. And so basically people who grew up with games in the early 3D era are now in game development, and now they're making games they remember, right?
Yeah.
And they're, we went through that whole era where we had those indie game devs making, Super Nintendo games, basically.
Yeah.
And now we've moved up the timeline a bit to people making PS1 games. And so, to me, looking at this looks like something someone could have made today. Almost. I mean, there's a little roughness around the UI and sort of the design language of the game is a little archaic in a way that you wouldn't see happen today in a modern release. But I think the look of it is really cool. And it's, again, for a PS1 game, it's clear, and that's a hard thing to do. To make a clear, parsable image out of complex things on a PS1.
Yeah.
And it takes skill to do that.
I think you're right. I think they did it definitely way better than like Final Fantasy VIII, for example. Like it's right. They're famous for running around and having Squall's face look like a jumble of pixels.
But also those games, you could tell it's hard because they use the pre-rendered backgrounds a lot of the time, and this game doesn't.
Yeah.
So these are all polygonal backgrounds, and so that's a lot more work to get to do to make that look coherent. They almost did the reverse. They did a 2D foreground and a 3D background.
They did do the reverse of Final Fantasy. Yeah, Final Fantasy does 2D backgrounds and 3D characters.
Right. Yeah, I think I prefer the 2D characters on the 3D background, honestly.
I think I do too. I don't know. I really like the whole running through the painting style gameplay as well. But
I feel like, but you'll never get that back. Not unless someone deliberately goes that route. But with the whole HD 2D stuff that Square Enix has done with Octopath Traveler.
Yeah, they're sticking to 2D with the characters, yeah.
Right, that is coming back. But pre-rendered backgrounds, I don't know that we'll ever see that again. Ever.
Somebody will make one day, right?
Maybe. It depends on how hard it is to do. I guess maybe it's not that hard. I don't know. But
I imagine it's not as hard as making... I mean, if you've made something in 3D, then you just have to render it, right?
I don't know enough about it, but I just know... I feel like it's not as... It's so niche. Like, it's such a niche thing to appreciate and want that I feel like unless there's like a hardcore Resident Evil fan out there who wants to make a video game.
Right. Yeah, I mean, even among RPG fans, there probably aren't that many people saying, I want the 2D running through the
Yeah.
painting experience again. Yeah, probably not that
Yeah.
many people saying that.
Like the last one to come out was what? Baten Kaitos?
Oh man, Barton Kaitos 2, I guess. Yeah,
Or 2, right? That's right, 2.
yeah. I don't know any game later than that.
I think
Either.
that's it. That's got to be one of those very, very last pre-rendered background games ever made. I have to imagine.
Well, look forward to the backgrounds of Valkyrie Profile 2, which are 3D, but you only run 2D movement. So
Right.
it's like passing behind you, and like it's amazing what they accomplished on the PS2. Okay, are we done with Xenogears?
I think we're done with Xenogears.
Are you glad you played this
Oh yeah. No, this was on my radar even like
before,
just
right?
in general. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as a Xeno Saga fan, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm actually moving more towards a Xeno Saga now that I've after all this time. But yep, my tastes have changed. Okay, so now we're going to announce the next game that we're going to play. I am unbelievably excited about this. Like, unbelievably excited. Like, Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
boy.
I'm like so happy that Mel said yes. I was thinking he's not going to say yes. He doesn't want to play Star Ocean. We're going to play Star Ocean 6. Now, right off the bat, the thing I was worried is, and I didn't tell you this, so maybe now you'll not be happy, but Star Ocean has multiple characters running around in action combat with everyone but the one you're choosing being controlled
Right.
with AI. So I know you
Yeah,
didn't
I
care
looked
for
at some
that.
trailers. I know it's not quite in my wheelhouse. So I think what I told you and what I'll do is I will definitely buy this game and give it a really good go. And at a minimum, I will have my own personal take on what I have here. But I
Okay.
definitely plan to finish it. Like I'm not gonna just crap out on it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. The one that you gave up was Tales of Vesperia, and I can tell you
Yeah.
yeah, and I can tell you after playing both games I'm sorry, after playing both games. I played the demo of Star Ocean 6. You can play like, the first 2 whole hours of it. And this game has way more stuff going on with the combat than Tales of Vesperia. So at the very least, you'll have more things to try out and check out. So I'm hoping that will be the thing. Do you know
It looks cool.
It looks cool. Do you know anything about Star Ocean?
Nope. I know 0 things about the story or the series.
Would you like to hear a little bit?
Sure.
Star Ocean 1 came out on the Super Nintendo. It is the largest Super Nintendo game on the console.
File size wise?
File size wise, that's right.
Mm.
Yeah, it is the largest one. In fact, they had to use a special chip or something to like compress everything. So it's a massive game for the Super
Must
Nintendo.
have cost a shit ton at retail. Like games back then
Oh yeah,
were expensive.
you probably did. Yeah, I don't know. That game
Chrono
never came
Trigger
out
was
of Japan.
$80.
I'm sorry?
Chrono Trigger was $80 at
Oh,
retail in
wow.
1990 whatever it came out.
Yeah. Damn. How did I afford that?
I don't know how any child afforded that.
Yeah, but somehow we did. Yeah, that Super Nintendo Star Ocean 1, it never came out in America, in the West.
Okay.
I every time I think about all the stuff that's in that game, I can't imagine how mind-blowing it must have been. It's got to be the first console game ever to have a crafting system. Star Ocean games always have crafting systems.
Okay.
So that's pretty crazy right there.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Then Star Ocean 2 came out. This one came out in the West, and it's on the PS1. And a lot of things that are in Star Ocean 6, people are getting really excited about because they mirror things that they saw in Star Ocean 2. And Star Ocean 2 is the only one that everybody agrees is good. It's the only one. Starting from Star Ocean 3, they become divisive. But everybody loved Star Ocean 2, and it was on the PS1. And one of the things that it has going on, that Star Ocean 6 has going on that's similar, is you got 2 different protagonists to choose from. I'm hoping it's going to work just like it did in Star Ocean 2, and there'll be at least 3 times maybe that they get separated, and we're going to see different things depending on who you play. I'm hoping that's how that goes, because that's how it was in the first one. I'm sorry, in Star Ocean 2.
Right.
And the standout aspect of Star Ocean 2 is that it's got so many systems. It's got this massive skill menu. It's got the crafting system again. It's got this massive skill menu, and it lets you do all kinds of things. There's a skill to control not the frame rate, the encounter rate. You can like write books and use them to make characters fall in love with each other, or sell them and make money with them. You can you can make your own swords and stuff, and you can do alchemy to make stones, and then do another ability to put those stones onto your swords and stuff like that. Crazy stuff like that. And it's like infinite. Oh, and there's like a pickpocketing ability too, and you can pickpocket from anyone in the entire game. And it's got 12 characters, and all of them are optional. You can just take, like, it doesn't have the "but thou must" moment very often.
Oh, okay.
So you can just go with just like the two protagonists the whole game if you really want to. So all those things just made Star Ocean 2 really stand out, made it really crazy. And the fact that it's one of the earlier space RPGs as well. Star Ocean 3 came out on the PlayStation 2 and divided the hell out of audiences, like better than any game ever, I swear. And the way it did is with its plot twist, and I'm hoping that plot twist actually affects all games in the universe. So I'm not going to tell you what it is now, but I'm hoping that there's going to be some allusions to it in Star Ocean 6, and if it happens, I will blow your goddamn mind like you never seen, man. Oh my god.
Oh boy.
Half of the people in the world like cannot stand that plot twist, but the other half think it's like amazing. And then Star Ocean 4 came out, and people just didn't like the characters in the story, even though it had really freaking sweet combat, and that was on PS3. And everybody thought like Star Ocean was done after that because they kept losing sales ever since the third one. The third one was the highest selling one, but I guess because it divided the audience, the next one got a lot less sales. But from out of nowhere, one day Star Ocean 5 got announced, and it came out, and we're all like wondering if it's going to be better than Star Ocean 4. Story-wise, I mean, gameplay-wise, it was great, but story-wise, a lot of people didn't like it. It has like a girl with cat ears, and she acts like a cat, and it has a little kid and who's annoying and stuff.
Oh boy.
Yeah, Star Ocean 4 was one of those games. Star Ocean 5 came out, and it's like the worst thing anyone ever played. Like, it's just a bad game.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and everybody was sure Star Ocean was dead. And then Star Ocean 6 got announced, and everybody's mind blown right now. And so we're all hoping, please, let this be a good game. In fact, if it's not a good game, it is the end of Tri-Ace. There was recently an article that came out that said Tri-Ace is the name of the development team. It said that Tri-Ace is currently insolvent. So they're going bankrupt as we speak. Yeah. So I guess if they sell a lot of this and it's a really great game, they can come back strong. I don't know how that works, but we all hope that that's what's going to happen. And it already, just from the demo, it looks way better than... I mean, I played the demo, and those first 2 hours are way better than Star Ocean 5, and I even like it better than most other Star Oceans I've played. So this is a game that has a lot riding on it for a lot of the fans anyway.
Sounds like it. Oof.
Yep. You're getting into that game, Mel.
Oh boy. Yeah. I'm surprised Tri-Ace is still around also.
Yeah. I mean, they make like such unique games that they all end up being sort of niche in the end.
Yeah, they're very like a B tier, not necessarily in quality, but like in appeal and like, audience size and budget. Exactly. And I feel like the room for that, because that still takes a shit ton of money, and it still takes like a legit company to put that type of game together.
Totally, yeah.
But the return is like, It's not a AAA. It's not the next Final Fantasy. It's not the next whatever. It's like a Tri-Ace game, and it's like the room for that in the industry is like shrinking.
But lately, Square Enix has been bringing back all their old franchises, and they've been turning them all into action games. And they did that with Valkyrie Elysium, which was supposed to be.
I heard about that.
Yeah, I uploaded 3 videos about it. Go watch one of them.
Oh, okay, I'll have to watch those.
Yeah, and they turned it into a straight up just a beat 'em up game. It's like it's not even an RPG. Like there's no experience points.
Oh.
There's no like number for your HP or number for your damage either. Like I don't think it can be called an RPG at all, to be honest. And it's a pretty solid game for what it is. Solid enough anyway. But like it doesn't have Tri-Ace making it. They got somebody else to make it. And like they turned it into an action game. Tri-Ace is I'm sorry, Valkyrie Profile is turn-based.
Right.
So what the hell is that, we all say? And, you know, Final Fantasy VII got remade, turned into an action RPG. It was supposed to be turn-based. It's originally a turn-based game. The thing with this, though, they're turning all these games into action RPGs because they think that's the way of the future and the mainstream way, I guess. But Star Ocean was always an action game. So if any game has a chance to, like, be awesome to new people and old people alike, it's this one. So
we shall see.
Yeah, we'll see. I hope you like it. I hope I like it.
Yeah, I hope you like it too.
I mean, I played the intro and it was freaking awesome. So I think it's gonna be
the
good.
demo.
Yeah, I played the first 2 hours of the demo, and like I even like the characters and the story more than previous games. Like they're really doing a good job, I think. Okay, and that takes care of that. Thank you very much for all your conversations, Mel.
Yeah, thank you, and then thanks to our guest.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Cadmoni, thank you very much, Cadmoni, for joining us and being the expert on Xenogears for us. And I guess if you know any other RPG fans out there, tell them about this show. And you can see us on YouTube, or you can listen to just the audio on. Well, YouTube is also just going to be audio. Sorry, and you can listen to just the audio as well on podcast services as well. And look forward to our upcoming talk about Star Ocean 6. I recently released 3 Valkyrie Elysium videos. One about the flaws, one about the good points, and one about how it compares to Valkyrie Profile. So if you have interest in that, please check it out. And I believe that does it. Good night, everyone.
So, all right. Have a good night, everyone.